Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final week of the Aegis Executioners League. We are in the grand finals right now, and my name is Tokibi, bringing you the action. And joining me is Sean Selmo. And how are you doing this fine evening?
I'm doing great, man. I am very excited for this series we have here, and we've had the benefit of getting to cast one of these teams since the quarterfinals. We've seen them go all this way, so really excited to see what we have here, but definitely going to be a great series between these two teams, maybe one of them being less expected than the other, but regardless, both of them have found their way here and are looking to come home with that AEL championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the main thing to talk about, and it's not often we say this, but I don't think Dorado Gaming was expected to make it this far. Their regular season just did not look that good, but then they really brought it out in the quarterfinals and the semifinals. That was an absolute nail-biting best of 5. Like, I think that was the closest series I've ever cast. So again, I know I said this last week, but shout outs to XG Gorilla for bringing on the best series I've seen, and then shout outs to Dorado, who hopefully can bring it out again tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see what Dorado has at hand, but going up against OverSoul Esports this week is going to be a tough task. It's been a while since we've gotten to cast this team and really seeing how much they've grown, but had a solid regular season, had a pretty solid playoffs, maybe a little bit rocky in that first round. I think they went to the full 5 games, but this team isn't somebody you could sleep on, and either is Dorado that we've seen throughout these playoffs, but definitely going to be interesting with these two on the rift. Dorado with maybe a little bit more momentum with beating that, expected winner in XG Gorilla. But Dorado looking good and in form, hopefully, for tonight after what we've seen throughout them for this playoffs. But also really excited to see OverSoul. Been a while, and really excited to see some of these names take on the rift tonight.
It's also going to be really interesting because there was a patch just yesterday, but we'll talk about that later because right now it's time to introduce the players. We're going to Dorado Gaming Iota, where we have Kali G in the top lane, Halzer in the jungle, and BK in the mid lane, Mustard in the bot lane, and Gremlin in support. We also have the subs, Panda, Robust Octopus, Glacial, and Purple Sazabi, but I believe it is going to be the starting lineup playing today, and we've seen what they can do as soon as they get going.
Yeah, we've seen this team a lot so far, and it's always the eyes to be on Mustard and NBK for that team. But OverSoul Esports, they got some names to back up their record from the regular season.
Yeah, they have Ace in the top lane, Death Master Pones 2 in the jungle, Crash in the mid lane, Mystic in the bot lane, and Silly Goofy SCP in support. And of course, their subs, Tilted Pizza, Chase Groovy, and Melly G. I mean, these are both teams that have done the full gauntlet. They are here in the championship round. They are here in the grand finals. And all we really have left now is to just play the games and see who's going to be crowned the champion as we head right into draft. That was perfect timing for that segue.
Yeah, and I mean, it's always funny talking about Emerald teams, of players who to watch out for, because it always feels like it's the same every time. For OverSoul Esports, you got to watch out for Crash, you got to watch out for Mystic, and on the side of Dorado Gaming, you got to watch out for NBK and Mustard. Those are the focal points for the carries for the team, and that's how most rosters should be structured because, we're all Emerald players here. We are not at that caliber where top laners can solo carry you games. We're not bad enough where top laners can solo carry you games. So it's always that mid and 80 carry that becomes so important in these series. But looking at bans here, the Volibear banned away from Deathmaster Pones, highest played so far this season in solo queue. But when they do get their hands on it in, the competitive scene, they have looked very strong on it. But then also the Xin Zhao is a ban away against Kali G. We've seen it before. Surprised the Viego wasn't the first ban, but maybe OverSoul is willing to play into it and have a response for it with the way the bans are going, hitting up the Aurora ban on the side of Dorado and the Pantheon ban on the side of OverSoul.
Yeah, and we are seeing a little bit of jungle priority, though. It is a little bit starting to shift away on the side of Dorado, with the Vladimir being the next ban out here. But one interesting question I have, because again, I was going to bring up, and there's the Viego you were talking about earlier, but Nautilus jungle, do you think that's something these teams could pull out today?
So I played with one in solo queue, and it made me want to rip my brain out because he never ganked. Nautilus jungle gank potential is so insane, and he actually clears incredibly fast. I think he has like a 310 flat clear if you do it correctly, which is pretty much faster than a lot of the strong junglers right now, and has way better gank potential. It's not one where you need to have the gank setup in your lane. He is your gank setup. He has so much CC just innately built into that kit that he can create the gank for themselves. So I don't think we'll see it here tonight. I don't know if these guys are putting any practice on it. So if we're going to see Nautilus, I'm more than likely going to be seeing it in support role. But just talking about picks already here, the first pick for the side of Dorado, they went with the Smolder, going for the more scaling option, but OverSoul has said, we're not going to let you scale, picking Caitlyn, Karma, an incredibly powered 2v2, hard shoving bot lane. Every time you see Caitlyn, you want her to take that turret by like the 13, 12 minute mark to be able to go into other lanes and start collecting those plates before they do fall off. But if Caitlyn does fall behind and doesn't have that advantage in the early game, that's where the Smolder is really going to start taking over the game and be an issue in the later half of the game. So it all depends on how the side of OverSoul plays this bot lane. But Dorado going with a Hui pick and then immediately going with the Leona pick. So Leona, great engage support, can struggle a bit into that double ranged matchup. Not as, you know, sustainable as a Braum who can just take a lot of that damage and just shrug it off because of the shield and getting increased resistances. But Leona might struggle a little bit more as a Xerath is picked here.
Yeah, I mean, the Xerath especially, I believe does do quite well into Hui, just able to outrange him, just continuously throw down the poke. But in this bottom lane, the Leona is kind of the real question for me here because, like you said, it's really hard to play well into Caitlyn and Karma. So I'm wondering if maybe the strategy Dorado has is just have Hulzer kind of camp the bottom lane, because at that point, then Gremlin can kind of start setting up plays for Dorado, and then it makes sense to have the Leona. But outside of that, or maybe even Rome and just kind of leave Smolder behind. Smolder will still be able to get some stacks, will still be able to get a little bit of last hits, and will always scale up later on. But very interesting few picks there as we see the Zac and the Nocturne getting banned out as jungle focus seems to continue.
Yeah, OverSoul is going for that long-range siege composition. You got 3 incredibly strong poke champions. You got the Caitlyn, the Karma, the Xerath, going to look to just chunk you down before a team fight does start and then have it be an advantage to them. And also the siege potential. Everybody knows how good Caitlyn is on the siege, but backing it up with Karma poke and Xerath poke is also incredibly strong. But Dorado is looking for a more all-in-ish style comp with the Leona pick. It could just be they want a frontliner and not really necessarily that engage potential, but Leona is one of the best engage supports in the game. Her whole kit is made to do exactly that. But if Leona falls down a lot, it's kind of the Nautilus syndrome where you're just going to throw an Ian and then you're going to die and you're going to have like 12 deaths in a game and it's not going to look great. But if Leona gets ahead and can continue to use that aggressive engage potential, can really shine in those matchups. But full jungle focus bans on the side of OverSoul here, saying that Holzer is the best player on Dorado. Looking at these bans, they get the Udyr for themselves because you fall 8 champions deep in the jungle pool, so we start seeing some more of these weird junglers come out. Udyr, one you don't see very often but can still be very effective, while Sejuani, a champion that, you know, has been around in the meta for a while, doesn't really come out until a little bit later. It's being picked here in game number 1, and pairing that up with an Mbessa is going to be a very strong 2v2 in that top lane.
Yeah, and I mean, like you said, this is definitely going to be a dive comp, and that's typically the kind of composition that does counter this long-range poke. And they don't really have too much of a front line on OverSoul either, because it's just going to be the Udyr and Renekton, both kind of bruisery-ish. They're not full true tanks, like we're going to see coming out from the Sejuani specifically. And if they're able to get onto the backline at all, Mbessa can absolutely delete them in the backline. Sejuani, obviously the Glacial Prison can look for something, Solar Flare, and then the range coming out from the Hui and the Smolder should be more than enough to win this out. But this could be a very spicy one because it really just comes down to the engagement, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's really going to come down to how well OverSoul can kite back away from the engage that can come out from Dorado, or if Deathmaster Pones can like find this weird engage angle on Udyr, which can be very hard to do because he just does run at people as an angry man and tries to get the engage that way. But my eyes are really going to be focused on this top lane. And Mbessa, Renekton, these are 2 champions that can absolutely take over a game with a lead they have and make it impossible for any backline member to survive in a fight or effectively play the game at all. So I think a lot of focus is going to be focused on the top side, but when you have a Caitlyn Karma, you also want to be playing for that bot side. So OverSoul is kind of indexing into two strong lanes that Deathmaster Pone's going to have to make a decision on which one he wants to get ahead more.
And we're going to see exactly which one Deathmaster Pones does decide to get ahead, because I'm getting word that the game is ready. So we should be able to head right in there. No break this time around. We're heading straight to the Rift for game number 1 between Dorado Gaming Iota and OverSoul Scream. And just looking over at these two rosters, I'm already noticing first strike coming in for Crash in the mid lane. And this means that the Xerath may end up being quite rich as the game goes on.
Yeah, and another interesting thing is that Mustard has gone for TP here on the Smolder, not going for a defensive summoner, just looking to be able to pick up as much CS as possible, even if he does get chunked out in lane. But also Gremlin running the Summoner Spellbook on Leona, something I do not see. So I'm really curious how effective Gremlin can be with this, because normally you want that aftershock for those extra resistances, but you have a lot of flexibility and different play style when you do have that Summoner Spellbook. So definitely going to be keeping my eyes on that one. Also, Mystic with the cleanse is a necessity against Sejuani and Leona. So nothing super shocking on the side of OverSoul, just some interesting choices on the side here as we're getting a little scrap.
Yeah, both sides just kind of poking each other down, but no one's really able to get any kind of full damage. The ward on the Raptors is going to get cleared. Gremlin starting off with that sweeper. And Deathmaster Pones is the one that kind of took the vast majority of the poke, but it is a Udyr. It is a jungle Udyr, so should be able to just sustain up with those camps. But just kind of looking at these two teams, these two rosters, like obviously we do have the cleanse for Mystic. That should be pretty good. But because it's TP on Mustard and the Unsealed Spellbook, that does make me think that maybe Gremlin is planning on roaming more, and they're just going to leave Mustard alone to be kind of that weak side AD carry. And TP giving that second health bar should let Mustard farm up at least a little bit, considering Mystic and Silly Goofy will want to be shoving in anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this bot lane actually does end up playing out with the choices that were taken on the side of Dorado. Also, Gremlin going with that Oracle Lens, the sweeper. Every time we've casted them, they have started with this instead of going for the traditional ward. Really playing for that brush control and vision in that area. So not really shocked to see that one, but also very important to try to contain some control in the side brushes in this double range lane. And we're seeing that they're already getting pushed in here. The CS advantage, Mystic is up 12-4 right now, but the side of Mustard should be able to pick up a good portion of this under the tower. But overall, it's just a lot of poke coming back and forth on both sides. Mustard already having to drink a health potion, as NBK has already taken both in the mid lane up against the poke that's coming out from Crash.
And I think that's going to be the worst part about this. The lane phase is going to be so difficult for mid lane and bot lane, and honestly top lane as well. Renekton is a pretty strong lane bully on the side of Dorado. They're just going to be getting poked down everywhere. They're just going to be having bad trades, though. As I say that, Kali G is actually up a decent amount in CS. And it is kind of a shame that we did have Fleet Footwork nerfed. I know this has been a while ago, but with old Fleet Footwork, I think Mustard would have been okay in lane, but now actually has to be careful with that poke. It's going to help sustain a little bit, but it's not going to be giving those massive heals we used to get.
Yeah, I mean, we can see that even after the health potion and, you know, getting a couple procs that Fleet Footwork is basically back up to full health. So a lot of the poke has been mitigated that Silly Goofy and Mystic have done. But if they're able to get another strong rotation of spells and just ship damage like they had before, we could potentially see an early recall have to come through here for Mustard and then burn that TP. But we already see that the Scuttle Crabs have been taken on both sides here, respectively. No double Scuttle for either jungle here in this game one. But Deathmaster Pones picking up a Dark Seal on that first recall.
Hauser in the mid lane looking towards Crash, and with the bite, they will be able to get the freeze, and that's going to be first blood going over to NBK. Good start for Dorado.
Yeah, I think a little bit disrespectful there out of Crash not burning that early flash.
Kali G and Ace, I thought they might have been going for the all in there, but both are starting to get low, but no junglers nearby to really push that in further. So still going to be a very close lane on the top side, and first move could be the kill there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. You're going to see Kylie G take a recall off here and then just TP back to this lane. But I think Crash in the mid lane probably could have flashed away from Holzer on the Sejuani, because Sejuani isn't very much similar to Gragas or J4, where you can like kind of flash to the side when you're using that Q. It's a lot harder to actually get that animation to go that way. So once Holzer's on that destined path forward, you can easily flash away from it. But choose to save the flash and ends up getting killed for it. Hopefully that they will be able to use flash in a later gank or potential team fight that can break out. But first blood going on to NBK on this way. We've seen NBK get leads before and absolutely dominate games, so looking good on the side of Dorado if they're going for that NBK carry playstyle once again here. And like I said, Mustard and both Kylie G have TP back to their lanes, just looking to pick up as much farm as possible, especially on Mustard. Everybody knows the Smolder stacks. It's the threshold, trying to get there as fast as possible. His first dragon is easily just going to be picked over by OverSoul here because of the bot lane priority that they have just accrued from the natural laning power of this Caitlyn Karma.
Yeah, that's kind of expected. I don't even think Dorado's going to care too much about losing that dragon, because again, when you pick Caitlyn Karma, if you don't get that first, honestly the first two dragons, then something has gone terribly wrong. I think in most situations you should just be able to safely walk it in, just grab whatever you need. But I'm noticing that that CS difference really isn't that high in either of these two poke lanes. Mustard only down 5 right now. Granted, has had to burn the TP for it, and NBK and Crash are pretty close as well, also only a difference of 7, which obviously there is a difference, and definitely OverSoul is the one that's winning out on these trades. But you're typically expecting it to be a lot worse when you have such dominating lanes drafted out. You typically expect there to be a much larger difference than this, though. As I say that, Mystic holding the wave in the bot lane and kind of creating an even bigger lead for themselves.
Yeah, and Silly Goofy also is just playing this safe, not going too far forward to look for these pokes at all times, because there is the potential for them to get turned on and take a significant amount of damage from this bot lane duo, because Smolder actually does a pretty good amount of damage early. It's more of that mid game that Smolder does fall into a trough and then scales back up once they do get to that like 225 stack mark. But obviously, I think Silly Goofy's playing the smart, not going too far aggressive to look for all this poke damage that could be there. But I think Crash getting ganked early has really lowered the CS cap that was starting to build there, and NBK not having the TP back originally is going to be able to just TP back now, pick up a lot of this farm that is coming under the turret. But like you said, you expect these CS advantages to be a lot higher in both of these lanes. As now Mystic is being left alone here. As we can see on the minimap, Silly Goofy is walking up for this spawn of grubs, so that means
but now Glacier Prison gonna get flashed away by Crash. Silly Goofy was in the area anyway, so I'm not sure if they could have gotten the kill, but still gonna be a major summoner burn. But now they're not gonna have Glacial Prison for the grub spawn.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe Crash, you know, saving that flash for the first gank is going to be able to use it when the second one does come out, and is able to flash away from that Glacial Prison and keep themselves up, especially having access to that ultimate now. It can look to do a significant
Hauser going to be face checking the brush, and Deathmatch Prones is going to be there, but Arctic Assault over the wall. Hauser not going to be taking too much damage from that, as NBK still taking more and more poke coming out of Crash. And again, we talked about this at the start, but this is a first strike Xerath coming out in the mid lane, and right now NBK just not able to really land too much damage onto Crash, so Crash should just be getting that off cooldown. Is now the root coming in, but Silly Goofy could have gone a little bit too far. Kylie G just going to be jumping in, and Silly Goofy's going to be the first one in the back line, but now the Dominus is there. NBK's already down. Hauser super low, will get finished off. Double kill for Ace, and they're looking to trade back onto Deathmaster Pose, but it's just not happening. Kylie G trying to get away. Gremlin has already flashed out, but the stun is there, and the Zenith Blade trying to save him, but there's no one to be saved. It's a 4-0, and OverSoul Scream are really starting to get ahead now.
All right, so Silly Goofy, I like the gumption there to try to get that flasher down to Kylie G, but it put you in a bad spot, and you ended up getting hard punish for that. But it didn't matter, because Deathmaster Pones, Crash, and Ace in a small chokehold with those champions do so much damage. Once the Dominus was popped, you saw Ace was starting to burn through health bars with that AoE damage. Deathmaster Pones with that R, the second activation of it as well, doing so much damage in those small chokeholds. They're able to just burn through all the members on the side of Dorado. They pick up the grubs for themselves as well, so OverSoul OverSoul looking really good here in the early game off a grub fight that went so hard in their favor. Gonna look to have to continue this momentum because, like we said, their engage options the later you get in the game become a lot more difficult, so they need to build a large gold advantage and be able to just basically slap around Dorado Gaming with their wallets. So we'll have to see if they're going to be able to be doing that.
And I think a big part is that A's got 2 of those kills because at every point, Xerath's going to be able to deal damage. Deathmaster Pone's actually going to be going to Leandri's build, but either way, later on, it's just going to be that front line. It doesn't matter too much if they get richer or not, at least in terms of immediate effect. But A's, having that 202, having that full completed item, it's going to make the top lane so much more one-sided. And because of that, they're going to have 3 winning lanes now coming out. And the options for Hulzer are really going to shrink. And the options for Dorado in general are going to shrink because of that play.
Yeah, you're gonna have to see them look for some, interesting engages come around these team fights. They have a lot of options to them in between Kali G with that public execution, every CC ability, and Gremlin and Holzer's kit. But it's definitely a lot easier said than done. But if they're able to find like A's or even Crash and just CC them down before a fight does start, or early enough in a fight where they're not able to get out a lot of damage, it can be beneficial to them. But I think right now Dorado has to just bank on Mustard and NBK getting to that late game point and being those carriers, especially Mustard, who, being left alone in that bot lane with Mystic hasn't really fallen down too much in that CS department, hasn't fallen down at all in this game either, so is able to just keep scaling up, getting those stacks, getting that XP, and looking to be that late game carry that is needed out of this Dorado Gaming.
But now Glacier Prison is going to land into the mid lane, but again, NBK just getting forced back so far from that poke, not able to follow up at all. As we see the Hex Slash, they could be looking for the fight, and Mystic is going to get slowed down, but with the 90 caliber net, going to be able to get back out of safety. But now they could look to turn this back around, but it's just going to be a little bit of poke back on a Gremlin.
Yeah, the Solar Flare missing there is kind of big. They do get the slow, but it didn't matter because the 90 caliber net created enough space where there was no follow potential on the Mystic. But also Mystic still had Cleanse and Flash, so it would have been okay if the engage did come out. But I do like the idea there outside of Dorado to look for something aggressive in the spot lane when maybe Mystic and Silly Goofy weren't looking for it or expecting it, but just not able to work out there in their favor. But once again, the next dragon was picked up by the side of OverSoul, so they are just one objective away, I believe. Oh no, they should have Feats already, but nobody has upgraded boots. My apologies on that one. So Feats already picked up super early in this game, but question is that enough? Because Mystic hasn't created this significant advantage you expect to see in the bot lane. I don't even think they picked up a turret plate down here for this Caitlyn lane, which is not ideal when you first rotation this champion and want it to be that aggressor that you know for in the early game.
And that's kind of the strength of that TP. As hold that thought, Deathmaster Bones getting a lot of damage, and now the Ride of the Arcane going to be coming through, and NBK just going to get burst down. But in answer to your question, coming out in the bot lane, it might still be enough. And because I think a big reason why they weren't able to get a lot of those plates was because Silly Goofy went up to make that play on the top side of the map, and that really shifted things in favor of OverSoul Scream, as now we could be seeing another play going the other way around. Deathmaster Pose is going to get stunned up. Public execution as well. Flash is still available, but doesn't matter, not going to be used. It's going to be the shutdown going over to Kali G in the top lane, and they definitely need a few more of those on the side of Dorado to get back into this.
Yeah, that is a big shutdown for Kali G, and Bessa is one of these other win cons that Dorado has drafted. If Kali G gets far enough ahead and is able to get onto Crash or Mystic or even Silly Goofy in the backline, it makes it a lot harder for OverSoul to play these team fights the way they want to. So my eyes, like I said, after we saw the drafts, is on this top lane, and both top lanes being at a strong point in this game. It depends on which one is going to be able to get more effective use out of these champions, out of these kits, come the team fight phase. Because right now we're still in a lull where like lanes are the same. We've gotten a lot of scrapping around objectives, but there haven't been like any plays made to move these lanes from the current situations that they're in. So I think in the next 5-ish minutes, when the Otacon does spawn, or even sooner, we're going to see a lot of rotations out of these teams. So my eyes will still be on Kali G and A's, but right now everybody's just fine with the current assignments that they're in.
Yeah, and I think once those objectives do start spawning, we're going to see a lot of fighting over vision as Cali G starting to trade pretty heavily in the top side as well with that full completed item, and actually just going to be able to get the shutdown. Dominus was popped, but so was A's, so kind of evens out that way. And it's a 3-1-0 top laner for Cali G, and that could be a lane for them to play through on the side of Dorado.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't pass the mic over to you there, Toki, because I didn't think that the solo kill was imminent, but Cali G just really showing their prowess on this Mbessa and just basically hitting every single ability that was thrown out onto A's, so it didn't matter that Dominus came out. I think it came out too late, actually, and Cali G was still able to pick up that kill, so now this Mbessa is really online and going to be an issue for OverSoul here, as the Rift Herald has spawned, so we'll see if the teams want to start prioritizing that. As you see, Dorado is putting pings and so is OverSoul, so I'm expecting to see a fight as we already see Silly Goofy up here. Gremlin a little bit far behind on this play, but maybe if they switch over to that Summoner Spellbook TP, able to get up there a lot faster for this play.
Yeah, but it's going to be a scary play for the side of Dorado if they do want to go for the Herald, because Dragon's also going to be up in 30 seconds. So if they lose one fight here, not only are they going to lose the Herald, they're also going to lose the third Dragon, which would put OverSoul onto Soul Point. And it's just obviously losing the fight on its own is also just going to grow the gold lead for OverSoul. So this is a very dangerous and a very stressful moment coming out of Dorado. But on the other side of it, for OverSoul, if they're able to win this out, if they're able to have a fight go in their favor, this could be the moment for them to fully take control of the game. And then from that point on, they could just kind of slow push it in for the rest of the game. But we'll see if they're able to make that play created.
Yeah, a big thing we saw there were some late backs come out of the side of OverSoul, but because Dorado didn't know exactly where they were, they didn't start up the Dragon immediately. So now that lets OverSoul kind of walk back into this area, but they're not willing to face check with lack of vision. So it should just be the Dragon going over here to the side of Dorado, stopping that Dragon stacking. But in the meantime, since Cali G walked all the way down here, A's got that free time. We saw them pick up that first turret up in that top lane. They're kind of looking for Mystic here, but nice vision set up by Silly Goofy is going to keep them safe. I don't think a dive is going to come out just because Summoner Spells are still available for Mystic, but as I say it, we might be seeing it happen right here.
Yeah, 3-member strong glitch prison is going to be there. Same with the cleanse, and now the solar flare not going to land. Ace in the hole going to get blocked as Mustard is very low HP, just barely going to be able to survive the right of the arcane. But it is a failed dive. That's going to be 2 flashes burned on the side of Dorado just for the flash and cleanse for Mystic.
Yeah, a little bit miss execution there by the side of Dorado. Gremlin not hitting another solar flare there was massive, because if that one did hit, that should have been Mystic falling down, but Ace TPing down and also crash hitting those crucial right over the arcanes onto Mustard really deterred Dorado from pushing that any further. And in the meantime, as that play was happening in the bot lane, Deathmaster Pones picks up the Rift Herald in the top side of the map, so they can look to use that to break the mid lane open here come the next Dragon spawn in 350. But right now, I expect soon Mystic and Silly Goofy to take over that mid lane. And as I see that, Mustard and Gremlin are walking back down to this bot lane. So lanes are going to continue in traditional fashion here at 18 minutes into the game. Not something you typically see this late into the game.
Yeah, definitely not, but I think everyone's kind of okay with the lane setups, because Mystic and Silly Goofy, they can definitely pressure Gremlin and Mustard, but from their point of view, they're still able to get the last hits, they're still able to get the stacks. And then in the mid lane, NBK isn't doing too poorly, as now the dominance is going to get popped onto Cali G. And now the public execution to the backline, Cali G just needing to flash away. But Crash is on the way. Not going to be in range for that shocking orb, though, as Cali G barely going to be able to dodge that Spiraling Despair on the backline. But Deathmaster Pones is going to be the first one. NBK forced to flash over the wall as well. And we'll still get a couple shots from the right of the arcane, but it's still just going to be that 1-0 in favor of OverSoul.
Yeah, Cali G tried their best to play that one out, but Udyr can chase you down. This is what that champion does. That's his only form of engagement or gap closing, is just running straight at you. And despite Mbessa having so many dashes in the kit, they're still able to get on top of him. Also forcing NBK to flash there, because he ended up getting caught in between A's and Deathmaster Pones and the flash the wall to keep themselves safe. Big potential there out of the side of OverSoul to push that even further. They still have have the Rift Herald to use when Dragon does spawn, but getting more advantage on Deathmaster Pwn and A's is massive for this team because this is their form of front line. These are the guys taking a brute of the damage that comes out from Dorado and are basically your only engage tools in this entire game.
Yeah, and if they're able to land it, then it's very good. But OverSoul doesn't really need to engage either. I think that's the main point. Once they do scale up, they're going to have so much poke potential. One thing I am a little bit surprised about, not that I really think about it on Mystic specifically, is that it is going to be that lethal tempo rune, and it's going to be that Yoon Tal most likely into Infinity Edge second. I was thinking for a game like this, with the composition that they have, with the composition the enemy has, this could have been a very good game for something like Collector, just full lethality Caitlyn. It's definitely not as strong as it used to be, but I think when you paired with the Xerath, when you paired with the rest of the team comp they have, it would be able to really open up a lot more play opportunity for them in just one-shotting whoever steps on a trap or whoever just walks up a bit too far.
Look, I'm a hater on lethality Caitlyn, but I'll hold that thought as the fight's breaking out here.
Yeah, they are getting set up. Deathmaster Pwn's running all the way in, and the Shocking Orb not going to be able to land from Crash. But Dragon is spawning in 1 minute, and OverSoul, it looks like they're just trying to get this vision control here on the spot side so they can contest for this Dragon.
Yeah, but like you were saying, I personally don't like lethality Caitlyn. I see the point of running it this game, but I think crit Caitlyn does exactly the same that you want from lethality Caitlyn, just with more sustained damage in a team fight where you're not just looking to hit those pilt over pacemakers or the ace in the hole. You can actually deal damage with those auto attacks. But I do see where the lethality Caitlyn could work with the comp that you have drafted, but I think the more consistent damage output is going to come from this traditional crit one. But like you said, we got Dragon spawning in 20 seconds here. You still have the Rift Herald available to Deathmaster Pwn, as these teams are just going to continue to posture around this river for vision and for that mid lane priority to be able to look for this Dragon number 4 in the game. It would tie Dorado on Dragon second, but it would put OverSoul onto that soul point if they're able to pick it up.
Yeah, and that's really what this is going to be about. Lots of damage so far, but it's only on to Gremlin. And as I say that, it's a lot of damage on a Gremlin. When I first started that, it was only a quarter of Gremlin's HP. Now it's a full half. And that could be the moment for OverSoul to kind of start pulling onto this Dragon. They still have Crash in the area, could continue this poke, but instead going to be moving up to that mid lane, just trying to keep that wave from crashing. As now A's just keeping Cali G in, and it looks like Dorado, they're just going to be giving up on this. The poke on a Gremlin was too high, the priority on the side of OverSoul is too high, and they are going to be on that soul point, and 5 minutes away from a potential soul.
Yeah, because of all that poke that came down onto Gremlin, they just don't have that guaranteed engage tool to say to be able to start off a fight on their terms, and just not feeling comfortable enough at this point in the game to be walking in. They're kind of still waiting for Mustard to get to that stack mark. And speaking of which, if we can get an update on these smolder stacks at this point in the game, really curious to see how close Mustard is to that threshold point that we're all looking for out of Smolders. We're at 196, 199 now, so only 26 stacks away from hitting that point, but also feels like it's coming a little bit later than you would like it to, but because you're in that double range, it does make a lot of sense.
Solar Flare has landed to the backline, but the snap trap is there, and Silly Goofy is going to get set up, tries to flash away, but it's a little bit too late. Silly Goofy definitely going to be going down. Mustard just used a couple more autos, but they're still alive, they're still healing. Public execution has been dodged away. Now Glacial Prison will finish off Silly Goofy, but you only get one. That still might not be enough, but now OverSoul, they're going to use this time. They're going to use this pick off just to also get themselves the tier 1. But is that a good trade for the Otacon that has already been started in the top lane by OverSoul?
I don't know if that is the correct play, but it is one that Dorado has to make at this point in the game. They need to find a way to start getting Mustard online faster. Ideally, you would have wanted the kill. Oh, hold on.
They're going to re-gank. Mystic could still be in a bad spot. Arcade is going to be coming through, and it's a shutdown going over to Mustard. The Otacon does go down. Both Mystic gone. They could continue and maybe even go for a tier 2.
Oh, wait, Mustard.
Mustard? Mustard just kind of yeah, sorry, I was a little bit speechless from that. And now in the top side, Cali G could be going in a little bit too deep as well. Deathmaster Bones is here. Same with Crash, just needs that stun, but NBK also going to be grouping up his Gremlin. Is going to be the next target in the bot lane as well. And Ace gonna be able to come in, just needs one more auto, but so far the Shield of Daybreak buying some time. Ace, you need to run forward. Silly Goofy gonna be in the area to help with the slow, with the root, and one final auto, and Ace will be able to secure that kill, as there was no kill happening over on that top side.
Yeah, so what ended up happening to Mustard there is they threw out that W, the Achu, and as the Mantra Q came out from Silly Goofy, it tagged onto them, so the tower aggro went onto Mustard and was slowed, just not able to escape the turret range, and ends up falling down there, and that is quite crucial for the side of OverSoul, because that stops Mustard getting those free stacks, getting some free time on that turret, and even more gold in their pocket. And you saw that they didn't even get a shutdown when they picked up the kill onto Mystic. So I think at this point, the Smolder should be online and ready and available for this next Dragon fight, or even Baron, if that's what OverSoul wants to force here. But Dorado has gotten over the hump. They've gotten their Smolder to the late game. It just all comes down to Mustard's positioning in these team fights and how much damage they are able to pump out. And having Flash available to them is going to help a lot in the positioning and trying to avoid a lot of this poke or a potential engage that can come out from OverSoul, as Gremlin's being looked at right now.
Yeah, going to be getting rooted up, but it is so far 4v2 in favor of Dorado. Now that the Soul Flare is going to be there, they have the execute Gremlin. Ace in the hole, not even going to be needed. Right of the Arcane's going to be more than enough, as Deathmaster Bones is starting to burn down, but with the shielding, with the healing, Super Scorcher Breath just not strong enough yet. Mustard going to need more stacks to burn through that.
Yeah, either more stacks or just armor penetration at this point, or even, it sounds crazy, but I think Cali G might want to invest.
Oh, public execution into the backline. Mystic is going to be the one that gets caught out and will get taken down by NBK with a snipe. And now Silly Goofy all alone versus 4, double kill to NBK, and they're pinging on to the Baron. This could be the comeback Dorado needed.
Yeah, that is a huge play there out of Cali G. As I say his name, he makes the play happen.
But now Crash getting jumped as well. But Cali G may have gone a little bit too far. Ace is going to be here as well. And look at the damage coming through. But now the Smolder's still free hitting. They're able to take down Ace. It is going to be the shutdown. And perfect flash away from the Shock Orb. But do they have enough damage? And with the burn, they do. The execute is there. Mustard heard me talk about that damage, and they were sure to pump out even more for that fight.
Yeah, and that should be the mid-turret pickup here for the side of Dorado. A huge gold swing for them. Not enough to even it up or come back, but they are starting to make their way into this game. And like I said, Smolder is online now. Mustard is online for these fights, and we saw it exactly there, putting out so much damage. Wasn't able to get enough of the first fight to matter, but gets the double kill on the back half and is able to start putting more gold in their pocket, get the damage output there. And now Dorado Gaming gonna take the dragon, stop the soul coming through here from OverSoul, and then look for a potential Baron play or fight come in the next couple of minutes. But I mean, Dorado doing a great job at clawing this one back, but OverSoul is going to have to find a way to shut the doors on Dorado, as another fight is going to come.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit too far. Tries to flash backwards towards the team, but it's still up alive. Look at taken out. But public execution is Mystic getting run down. How would you hustle? Well, Mystic Glacial plays the back right. Mystic is the one getting down. Is going to be going as well. Just getting damaged in the hole. And it's a 4-0 for OverSoul. It's only doing its support. They're just going to let Gremlin live to tell the tale, and it's going to be the big purple one over to OverSoul.
Yeah, and like I said, OverSoul needs to find a way to shut the doors on Dorado Gaming, and they do exactly that. They catch NBK and turn it into a massive fight for them. And because Mustard didn't have Flash, because he flashed to help pick up that kill on to Crash, it just meant that Deathmaster Pones can run you down on this Udyr. And I mentioned it early, and we see it upgraded here. The Dark Seal, that was the first recall purchase for Deathmaster Pones, has been turned into a 20-page book in this game. The side of OverSoul are looking good in game number 1. They just need to close this one out and not let Dorado, with this scaling Smolder, get away back into this game.
Yeah, and the sieging potential with this poke lineup is incredibly powerful. If they're able to get those Baron up minions, there is wave clear. NBK and Mustard can definitely clear these waves, but they're not going to be able to clear it safely. Mystic and Crash going to be able to pump damage out over top. Same with Silly Goofy. And Silly Goofy has gone more towards that Enchantress build, and I definitely prefer that on the Karma, the current meta, but those Inner Flames are still going to be dealing a ton of damage over top, as now we're seeing them setting up in this mid lane, and they're definitely going to be wanting the tier 2, but I'm wondering if they can maybe even go for more after that.
Yeah, we'll have to see how OverSoul wants to use this Baron. Right now, we're seeing pings come into that top lane as Crash has already started to set up a wave for them to push with. But the side of Dorado is already responding to it. We can see the 4 members are rotating over here to try to stop the Baron push coming out, as Aegis and KaliG are going to scrap in the bot lane.
I'm not sure how deep they're going to be fighting, but now Hulzer actually jumping in. It's just going to be jumping on to Crash as the Achu coming out over the top as well. Mustard just getting so much poke with those bounces from the Super Scorcher Breath. And with the wave clear they have, this might be a much more difficult push than OverSoul may have initially suspected.
Yeah, and an item that hold on.
Public execution coming out in the back line, and now the Dominus to follow. Ace actually going to be trying to run away. Is now in the back line here in the top lane. Mob going to be coming out over top, but Mustard and Hulzer are so low, but so is Deathmaster, and Mustard actually burning down right of the Arcane is going to be gone. Crash is going to secure that kill. Ace in the hole helped as well, and NBK super low, but will survive. Takes that one final pill over Peacemaker, but for now there's no way, so they can't continue this push, but it was a 2-for-0. And 2 blinking health bars on Dorado.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw how long Deathmaster lives when you're powered up by those Karma shields, and an item I think could be so strong for the side of Dorado if it's picked up by either Mustard or KaliG is that Serpent's Fang in this game, because the members of the side of OverSoul aren't inherently super beefy or tanky, but those Karma shields are keeping them alive for so long. So if you're able to cut those away, it makes it a lot harder for Deathmaster Pones to do exactly what we just saw in that team fight that broke out in the top lane over that tier 2 that was in favor of OverSoul, but it was really run by both Silly Goofy and Deathmaster Pones, with the follow-up damage coming up from Crash and Mystic.
Yeah, they did manage to get both tier 2s, the one in the mid lane and the one in the top lane. Gold lead now at a little bit over 8,000. Now, as later we get into the game, is Crash getting jumped on by Hulzer. Still has the flash available, so Crash may try to hold on as Mob coming out over the top. Silly Goofy is going to be there. The stun is there. The Inspire, though, keeping Crash alive. And now the flash is going to be coming through. And instead, it's going to be Gremlin the first to go. And what about the team fight afterwards? KaliG all alone trying to dash away as Deathmaster Pones tries to run there and back. But so far, it's just going to be Gremlin taken down. KaliG super low. And they still have the public execution, though. They still have TP. The soul is going to be up in 30 seconds. And if OverSoul are able to get that, they're going to be even stronger in these fights.
Yeah, and we saw that the Zenith Blade from Gremlin came out and it hit on the Silly Goofy, who then flashes backwards into the team, so it puts Gremlin so far away from the rest of his team to create any help for this Leona, and ends up falling. And like I said in the draft, Leona is one of those champions that it just feels like if you get behind, you're throwing out a Zenith Blade and you're going to have a horrible stat line. And I feel bad for Gremlin because some of these plays have been okay, but it's just not the stat line to back that up, just because of how OverSoul has been playing this game. We're going to have to see as a fight is going to break out over this Dragon Soul. Dorado doesn't want to give this over because it makes it so much harder for them to play out the rest of this game, like you had said, Toki. But a lot of poke can come out from OverSoul. We're going to have to see what Dorado does.
Yeah, and so far the poke is really starting to land. Hulzer already down to half HP, has the Warmogs, so if given enough time without any more poke, we'll be able to heal that back up. But Gremlin down a quarter HP, that's not coming back. And right of the Arcane, again, just there for more and more poke. Ace in the hole on the Mustard, and Mustard almost gets entirely taken down. Will survive. A locket of the Iron Solari has been popped, though, as now Deathmaster Pones trying to run into the enemy team, looking for more and more damage. Public execution in the backline. KaliG again all alone into 5, needs to get away, but Deathmaster Pones bring out the damage as Mustard going down to Ace, and his Hulzer still left alive. NBK out of mana as well, and Dorado is crumbling right in front of us. NBK gonna be the final survivor, but it's a 4-0. There is a wave, and this could be the end of the game. OverSoul, if they find a wave, if they find the push, they can end it right here, right now.
Yeah, it's a little difficult because they, like you said, they don't have a wave. They were kind of split on the decision to end this game, so they might just be taking some inhibitors and then taking a back here, but they might look to push this. They have a wave in the top lane. They don't have one in the mid wave, so because of this indecision, they're not going to be able to end the game at this point. They're going to just probably take 2 inhibitors here and then take a recall to claim their Ocean Soul and then look to set up for the end of this game number 1, as Crash does a lot of damage to NBK on the backside there. But we've seen this OverSoul team comp just run at you and do so much, and I'm going to say it again. Where is the Serpent's Fang to stop this Karma shielding that is enabling Deathmaster Pones to just run your team down and be a menace in this game? Has a fully stacked Magi's in this game. Not something you say all too often.
Yeah, especially not on a Nudier. And not the most common item built, but with that, it looks like Dorado, they might be trying to answer with Baron instead, but Deathmaster Pones is currently just alone taking that dragon. Now, they are going to be able to pop it with the blue trinket. So Dorado, they're not able to start it, and this is just going to be a very clean Ocean Soul going down to OverSoul, and mid and top are still pushing in as well. Dorado, they need to do something. They need to make a decision.
Yeah, they're just going to take recalls here because a mid wave is there for the side of OverSoul. We see pings coming onto the Nexus as they're sprinting down the mid lane. This might be the final fight, and with the Ocean Soul in the back pocket of OverSoul, this might just be their game to win. We'll have to see as the team fight is starting here.
Yeah, right of the arcane, just going to be used for poke, just going to be used to zone them off, and Mustard going to be taking down to half HP. Will be forced to go back to the Fountain to heal back up. There's no lifesteal on the Smolder. It did go for the Infinity Edge for the 4th item, and now it looks like they're going to get started onto this Baron. And again, Dorado, they just don't have vision. Well, actually, they have a lot of vision here, but they don't have the positioning for it. They're not going to be able to walk this in, and this, again, with this Baron buff, could be the moment for OverSoul to just end the game.
Yeah, I was a little ambitious saying that OverSoul is going to win the game there because I forgot how good the wave clear on the side of Dorado is with a Smolder and with a Hui. You kind of need that Baron to be able to get that siege if you're not getting the team fight done right before they look to go for that end game siege. So picking up the Baron is just going to help secure OverSoul that potential end angle, but it all depends on how Dorado plays the defense. They have sideways. They're trying to push out the top one. The bot one is pushed, and it looks like OverSoul is going to take this one slow and methodical. It looks like they're going to be making a play for this bot lane tier 2. Look to break down that inhibitor afterwards, and then just look to end the game slowly but surely. Not overforce anything, put themselves in a bad spot to lose.
Gremlin is going to get stunned up. Not too much damage following up, though. As I say that, I always forget, Deathmaster Pones right now is a damage dealer. I'm so used to the Uter just kind of coming in, slapping someone in the face, and then the rest of the team following up, but Deathmaster Pones doesn't even need that right now. But instead, they're going to get the tier 2 in the bot lane, and again, right of the arcane just used to buy some space. NBK gets taken down so low, and one more would be enough for the kill, and will get sniped down. Crash able to get that kill, as now Gremlin is on the front line trying to survive. Deathmaster Pones just running them in. Silly Goofy taking a lot of damage on the back lane as well, and Mystic actually forced to flash away, and a public execution in the back line. But again, Cali G all alone is going to secure that kill, and it's 2-0 so far. They're on the Nexus turrets. They're going to be on the Nexus soon, as Deathmaster Pones just continuing to zone them away. The damage isn't enough. The Smolder burn isn't enough, but what is enough is OverSoul Scream. They're going to push in the wave, and they're going to take us to game 2. They're up 1-0.
Yeah, and we saw that last fight. Deathmaster Pones was 1v4 in the back line and didn't even have fear of falling down there. The side of OverSoul played that end game so methodical and just went for the safe win instead of trying to overforce it and look for a play and then, you know, get punished for it and potentially end up losing the momentum they have. But a strong early game went into a strong mid game, and then they were just able to secure it from that point. OverSoul looking so strong here in game number 1. Dorado really gonna have to hit the books and figure out a way back into this one.
And I mean, I gotta give a huge shout out to OverSoul, specifically Crash on the Xerath. not waiting for those executions for Right of the Arcane. It is such a powerful poke ability. It's such a strong zoning ability, and that's what they were using it for. I mean, that fight entirely started with NBK just tanking one Right of the Arcane. Oh, where's the camera? There it is. And then the second one is going to be the ace in the hole coming out from Mystic, and then another Right of the Arcane, and that's it. Your mid laner's gone. It's a 4v5, and Dorado just had nothing left to defend their base. So I really like that they're not holding on to those cooldowns and just using them to win the game, basically.
Yeah, and I was a little skeptical on OverSoul's draft, kind of confused on how they wanted to play that one out, but able to do it and get the win here. As I thought I DC'd there for a second. It's been a while since that one has happened to me, but I didn't. But I mean, OverSoul looked really good with that comp that, might have not had the engaging tools that you would ideally want, but apparently it's enough when you have a fed Udyr who is empowered by Karma, who can just run at your team, bear slap everybody, and then also deal enough damage to get 9 kills.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to have to see if OverSoul are going to be able to continue this pressure in game number 2. We're going to be going to a short break, but before we do, we got to give a quick shout out to Zen Market. Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box and can ship internationally. They'll provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. If you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. And in addition, check out the special viewer giveaway, typing !giveaway in the chat for your chance to win a Nintendo 64. Thank you, and we'll be back
but kind of felt super ineffective the later we got into that game. Just also felt like not throwing out a lot of those ultimates, and it kind of felt like that was a big issue there on the side of Dorado. So maybe, you know, seeing if there's something better for Holzer. He seems like a much more aggressive style jungle. So maybe like Rek'Sai is still available in the pool. Champion I love that nobody really plays, Kindred, is still available. Even Lilia is still up, like not as strong as she used to be, but can still be very potent in the correct situation. So maybe getting something like that for Holzer, while the rest of the team kind of plays the same stuff, because it kind of felt like Cali G had moments in that game, Mustard and NBK both had moments, but it just kind of felt like there was a drop off at a certain point in the game where it kind of felt like Dorado Gaming weren't quite sure what to do with the tools that they had available to them.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the issue. Their composition in general was very hard to execute on, especially once they fell behind, because all the damage really had to come out from NBK and Mustard. But again, we saw a crash with that Xerath just one-shotting them before anyone was even on their screen. And when you lose your carry before they can even see the enemy, it makes team fighting completely impossible. I think their best bet was trying to win out a bit harder earlier and maybe have one of those lanes going a bit better. I mean, Cali G started the snowball, but obviously OverSoul were able to shut them down in the top side. But yeah, so it's going to be difficult for that game, but at the very least, this Pocomp is gone. They're not going to be able to play Xerath again. They're not going to be able to have the Karma again. And you were talking about that Udyr, but honestly, the Udyr, while it definitely was a big issue, I think it was more of a symptom of the rest of the issues, because they're just so far behind everywhere else that they didn't have the damage to burn through Udyr. And that's kind of the nature of those run at you champions. You either kill them really quickly or you don't at all.
Yeah, so it's just going to be really interesting to see not only how Dorado approaches this game number 2 draft, but now what does OverSoul do? Because we've already seen the poke composition out of them. It felt incredibly well practiced and piloted by them. So are they going to look for a similar style to that? Are they going to go for something different? If they want to still go for that poke style, Ziggs is still available and a very strong champion right now. I think, you know, you can just play him in mid or in bot lane and he'll still do exactly what you need and be super effective. Or if they're going to look for a more all-in team fight style of composition, but it looks like bans are staying the same right now. So the real question is, Dorado staying on blue side again? Normally, you know, pick one would be Yunara. Yunara is still not enabled for us because she came out at the start of playoffs, just not enabled for the entirety of playoffs. So then it becomes, what ADC do you potentially want to first pick? Tristana is still very strong. Varus is strong. Even Sivir, Zeri are strong. But it all just comes down to what options do you want to go for Dorado? Do you want to early pick a jungler and not get 5 banned out like you did last game as Holzer? Or is there that S tier B1 AD carry that you want that's going to win you the game?
I mean, Jinx is technically still available now. It's not going to be necessarily that absolute game winner, but it's definitely still strong, and I think, frankly, a little bit overlooked. I think Jinx, in the right hands, especially with the right team, which, honestly, I think both of these two rosters can definitely pull it out, can be just so oppressive. The range you get from those Fishbones rockets is just so ridiculously high. With the Caitlyn gone as well, there's really nothing that can match it either. And then on top of that, you're that hyper carry. You get a couple items and you're just going to be able to run through full lineups. Nothing can stop you as long as you have the protection. And there are a lot of champions that can provide that. Lulu's still left in the pool. There's going to be Braum. There's going to be even Nautilus, just some tank that can let you peel. Thresh to a lesser extent. We haven't been seeing too much of that coming out, but you never know. The options are definitely there.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, like I keep saying, because like we've kind of seen 2 different style of drafts in that first game, so it really comes down to which one does Dorado want to go with. If they want to look for this like more team fight oriented kind of divey style of draft, or if they want to go for like a more traditional like front to back, potentially more poke oriented like we saw come out of OverSoul. But like you're saying, there's a lot of potential like supports that can keep your hyper carry alive. One that I love and not enough people play, and I think she's in a super strong state right now, is Sona. Nobody plays that champion. I think Sona is actually incredibly strong right now. but it needs to be with the right AD carry, and like a Sivir or a Jinx are exactly that AD carry you want. Even like Zeri to a lesser extent, and also she pairs really well with Lucian if you want to go for a Lucian comp. But the first pick is actually just going to be Trundle here, a champion that is incredibly strong right now in the meta, and we do see it picked early a lot in these drafts. And instead of it getting banned away like it did last game, Holzer's just going to go for it on the B1 here.
Yeah, but it is slightly nerfed. There was a couple changes. I think the primary thing is that that frozen field has gotten a 2-second longer cooldown and less attack speed as well. So Trundle not going to be as powerful in those duels. Definitely going to have a little bit more space kind of play into the Trundle. But in the right hands, in the right situation, it should definitely still be one of those really strong 1v1ers, really strong kind of playmakers, just setting up the game early on and getting that snowball going, as we do see the Jarvan the fourth and Ezreal lock in for OverSoul. So could be doing a weak side bot lane, but at the same time, if they want to set up another pro comp, Ezreal can definitely be a part of that.
Yeah, and I mean, Ezreal is a good answer to Trundle. You're able to get away from that pillar, which is the demise to a lot of AD carries. But also, Jarvan can be a really good answer in a way into the Trundle as well, because you can just trap him in the Cataclysm and kind of just like baby cage him and not let him do anything, put him in timeout for a little bit in a team fight. But also, if you get behind as Jarvan, this Trundle is just going to run you all over Summoner's Rift, and there's nothing you can really do about it. But then Kai'Sa Nautilus is the answer here for Dorado, looking for just pure aggression in the bot lane. Kai'Sa is a pick a lot of people like into Ezreal, because even after he uses that E to create the space and then potentially flash as well, guess what? Kai'Sa's going to use that killer instinct, follow you halfway across the rift, and still solo kill you. So Dorado is looking to play for Mustard this game, and I really do like when they do that. I think Mustard is the focal point of this team, so I like them going for that draft. And like you said, OverSoul going for that weaker side bot lane with the Ezreal Braum, and Braum is the counter pick to Nautilus, so Gremlin gonna have not the most fun time in this lane or in this game.
If I can be honest, I'm a little bit sad that Nautilus got picked in support. I was really hoping it would be that pick where maybe game 4, maybe game 5, if we get there, Halser's getting banned out. You know, there's less of a pool remaining. And you know what? Nautilus in the jungle going to be really strong, but unfortunately not going to be coming out today. Unless we get really fancy here and this Trundle's actually in the top lane, but I really doubt that's the case. This is going to be bot lane. Kai'Sa and Nautilus obviously have very good synergy together as well. But let's talk more about the bans that are coming through now, because the Galio going to get banned on the side of OverSoul, and the Gwen getting banned on the side of Dorado. And it looks like Dorado are kind of realizing that OverSoul, they want to start playing from the top side, maybe towards the mid lane, just trying to get rid of those hyper carries from that top side of the map.
Yeah, and I said it last week, and I said it the week before, but I'll say it again this week. Galio is a very good ban away from NBK. It's one of his best champions, and Galio works so well with dive compositions. The heroic entrance follows up on all the dive you have, yada, yada, yada. Everyone knows what Galio does at this day and age. I mean, if you ask people what Galio did like 6 years ago, they'll have no idea, because nobody played that champion. But nowadays, everybody knows exactly what it does, as you see that the Gwen and the Aatrox banned away from OverSoul's top laner Aegis here. Like you said, they want a strong carry side oriented top laner on the side of OverSoul. So getting rid of two very strong options in the game right now. Another one that's up that I don't think a lot of people in this ELO tend to play or feel comfortable playing is the Rumble. But we're going to just get the Orianna Jarvan, very good combo. You get everybody in the Cataclysm, then you follow it up with that Shockwave, do a lot of damage. That's the goal with that one. But Trundle Ahri, pretty good 2v2 brawling power. These two like to scrap a lot and, you know, kind of work pretty well off each other, especially if you can, like, bump somebody with that pillar and then hit them into a charm. Can look really flashy and can be very effective. But I think Ahri just works very well with the comp that has been built up here by the side of Dorado.
Yeah, it looks like Dorado, they're just doing a full dive comp. Kai'Sa and Ahri can definitely get all the way to the back line. Depth charge is going to be used to set him up. And I mean, Sion's just going to continue that trend. I mean, that unstoppable onslaught really going to help them get straight to the back line, straight towards the squishies that they want to take down. And then Trundle can just run straight through. Obviously has so much move speed. So it's good to see that Dorado, they have like a very set identity for the composition. It's a very straightforward way to play the game. But now I'm curious what OverSoul are going to pick, and it's going to be the Cho'Gath in the top side. So to be completely honest, I feel like they might be lacking a little bit of damage this game, and also a little bit of that damage, kind of maybe relying a bit too much on that Jarvan Orianna combo to get something done.
It's definitely going to be a bit harder here if they do fall behind on the side of OverSoul just because of the draft they have. But if Mystic is landing these skill shots and is able to like just be pumping out damage constantly in the team fights, it can work. But I've seen it way too often to like talk about it too much, but like if a Jarvan gets behind in a game, he does negative damage. He does like provide next to nothing. So OverSoul is going to have to get very far ahead like they did in game number 1 to really make this composition work. But I think Dorado has the tools to pull this one back to an even series. We're just going to have to see if they're able to perform on it in the game.
Yeah, and we're going to have to see exactly how much they can bring out because, again, if I'm not mistaken, we are going to be heading straight into the game here between OverSoul, Esports, Scream, and Dorado Gaming, Iota. And just looking over at the start, nothing really too fancy coming out from either of these two teams, though. Yeah, and it's just going to be that 5-point start as well. So nothing coming out level 1, but again, Dorado Gaming, they lost decently hard in that game number 1. They had their moments, but OverSoul, if they're able to continue this pace, we could be looking at a very short series tonight.
I do find it surprising that both teams are going for a 5-point just because of the supports that they have. It's very easy to burn a flash early when you just run down mid lane and hit him with the welcome to NA with the Nautilus. But also Braum is super good on these late invades, especially if you're able to pair it up with that Ezreal, just because you're able to proc that passive very quickly. But both teams just playing it slow. A little bit of vision gained here by the side of Dorado, getting that ward on to Deathmaster's Raptors. But it's also responded to by a ward on to the enemy side here by Aegis, was able to just slip in there and be able to drop that ward. So information gained by both sides here in game number 1. But everything is basically standard except for Mystic going for that Conqueror. I normally see Lethal Tempo a lot more nowadays on the Ezreal, and also Silly Goofy going for the Spellbook this game, not Gremlin. But I mean, it does work on Braum. I'm just a fan of Guardian much more than going for the Spellbook myself.
I think that because it's with the Ezreal, it might not be as necessary. Mystic's going to be able to kind of provide that safe peel, that self-safety, as now immediately with the Dredge Line, but Gremlin definitely taking a lot more damage, assuming that final plasma stack isn't going to hit, but Mustard going to be able to bring that out. So both supports going to be taken down decently low, and they're going to start chugging away at their potions.
Yeah, like I said, Gremlin's not going to have a fun time in this lane. We saw a big chunk come out onto him, but Mustard able to trade it back onto Silly Goofy themselves. So both supports at basically even life here. Silly Goofy falling a little bit lower just because of the poke that just came out from Mustard there. But already, bot lane is looking scrappy between these two. And I kind of expected Mystic and Silly Goofy to play it a little bit slower, but kind of wanted to be an aggressor there, trying to get that level 2 early, just not able to get it and losing a lot of HP for it. Silly Goofy already burning through both pots, only going to have that biscuit in the inventory at this point.
Yeah, gonna be a little bit rough for Silly Goofy, but at the same time, they're not the ones that need to play forward. I think they could be okay just kind of sitting back, letting Mystic farm up. Obviously, the issue with it is you're going to let Mustard farm up as well, and the Kai'Sa does scale extremely well, especially with the composition that they have built kind of around it. But both sides should be happy just farming it out of Silly Goofy. Gonna be canceling the reset. Well, they're gonna cancel on a Gremlin, but now Deathmaster Pons is gonna be here as well. And this might just end up being first blood. Gremlin will flash away early and will get knocked up by the Flagon Drake. They just need a couple more hits, and the first blood gonna be going over to Mystic. So that Ezreal gonna have a very solid start this game.
Yeah, so we saw Deathmaster actually started in the enemy red quadrant there, I believe, and then went for that early gank in the bot lane. And because Silly Goofy only canceled Gremlins and not Mustard, it just made it a 3 kill there. I think Gremlin should have just saved the flash. I don't think there was any way you were getting away from that one. And because Dorado Gaming and Mustard and Gremlin wanted to go for that early shove into cheater recall, it ends up getting punished by the side of OverSoul here as a potential plays coming out from the mid lane. But Gremlin able to spot it out and save their mid laner at NBK with that rotation after falling down for that first blood.
Yeah, at the very least, going to be able to keep NBK alive. And And NBK is going to be a little bit harder to kill once that level 6 comes through. The Spirit Rush is such a strong escape tool. So definitely they would want to try and get a play onto NBK pre-6 if possible. So Gremlin, very smart, very heads up play to just walk immediately towards that mid lane, understanding that Mustard is going to have an okay time farming it up as the wave was just pushing back in. And NBK is going to be the main area of concern for Dorado. As now we are seeing there, even with that first blood going over Mystic, gonna go the Cull and the Tear of the Goddess. So double stacking items coming out for the Ezreal, and the Cull also gonna be matched by Mustard. So both of these AD carries definitely gonna need a little bit of more time than usual to come online, but once they do come online, they should be able to come online faster.
Yeah, and I do think that the Cull purchase is fine by both sides, and I'm gonna hold that
now
thought.
Hauser walking into the top side, looking for Ace. Now the pillar will be there, and the flash will be burned. So a good potential for a regank later on for Hulzer.
Yeah, I do like that play there by Hulzer, not hesitating to use the pillar, even though he wasn't in range to follow up on it. Still got the flash from A's, and like you said, should be an easy follow-up play. I'm also curious if Cali G is going to go for like the Bouse style of start proxy farming. I mean, that's not, it's just called proxy farm, but everybody calls it the Bouse style because he has made it work at a high level of League of Legends. But Cali G can probably easily start to look to potentially proxy the way that the map has been split as well because of how OverSoul started this game. But like I was saying before, I do think the Cull purchase on both sides makes a lot of sense, especially on the Ezreal side, because he already is innately scaling. Just getting a little bit of extra gold all the time as Crash can be able to just walk away from that gank. But because Ezreal is just looking to scale and just pick up as much CS as possible before he does get to that 2-item threshold, I think the Cull is a fine purchase. I'm more surprised about it.
But Hulzer is gonna get that winner's bite on it, and now with the knockup as well, Hulzer is gonna get taken down by Crash. And just they were trying to steal away on those Raptors, but Hulzer just gonna be immediately walking in. I think should have had a little bit of a clue that was going on, considering the positions of everyone around the map.
I think he should have just also known. Oh, and Crash misses the shockwave in the mid lane as we pan away from that. We saw it cast and missed, but Hulzer should have also known that his Raptors were either gone or just being taken currently because he has the timer of the Raptors that he took away from Deathmaster, so should know that they're on similar timers, a little bit desynced, but gets punished for it. And luckily he did not burn flash. He's still gonna have that available to him. But the kill going on to Crash, one of these people that need to be dealing damage in this game for the side of OverSoul, is another strong start here for OverSoul. Not as strong as we saw in game number 1, because their gold lead isn't that large, but they're still looking pretty good early in this one. It's just the question of if they can continue it or if Dorado is going to be able to get Mustard and even Cali G to a point where they are nigh unkillable or just one-shotting everybody.
Yeah, and just kind of looking over at that gold, it is a 500 gold lead right now towards OverSoul, but most of that is just from those 2 kills that they were able to get onto Crash and Mystic. They are losing decently in CS in the bot lane. They're losing decently in CS in the top lane. Nothing too extreme yet, just about 10 to 15 CS difference depending on the wave placement. So, but Dorado, they are slowly gaining control and slowly gaining the gold lead through those sideways. The issue is Deathmaster opponent so far has been able to get those kills set up for the squad. Same with Silly Goofy. If they're able to continue that kind of pressure, it won't matter that they're missing a little bit of CS on the side of OverSoul. So it's going to be entirely based off what they can do after. Is now the killer instinct coming in from Mustard. But again, Mystic just able to use that Arcane Shift to get a safety. And now Cali G going to be the target. Winner's Bite is going to be there. Concussive blows have already come through, and Cali G needs to back away. And even with the flash, isn't going to be able to get away. That's Feet of Warfare going through as Hulzer getting jumped. And with the flash, going to be able to take down Mystic.
Yeah, a lot just happened there. So before that play even started on either side of the map, I wanted to shout out the way that OverSoul is playing with Deathmaster Pones and Silly Goofy, how they are just this roaming 2-man unit, and they were leaving Mystic alone. And eventually Mystic did get punished, used both summoners, and still ended up falling there. But did get the flash out of Holzer, the ult out of Mustard there. But the way that Deathmaster and Silly Goofy have been playing this map as a 2-man unit has been incredibly effective, as Crash
just dodging out on everything and has the shockwave available if they want to make a play forward. And Gremlin is on the wrong side, will be forced to flash over the wall. Holzer with the pillar just to prevent any kind of follow-up. That's still going to be a flash burn from the Nautilus, going to make engaging a little bit more difficult for Dorado.
Yeah, Crash with the fancy feet, they're able to just walk away from everything. And we ended up seeing CaliG fall in the top lane because he had Ernie, I believe Ernie used the Unstoppable Onslaught to get back to lane, so didn't have that as an escape tool, even flash and still falls
But NBK going to use the Spirit Rush Halsers here as well, and Crash will flash over the pillar. And no kill again coming out in the mid lane, but another flash going to be burned.
Yeah, I think if NBK had mana, that actually still is a kill on the Crash because he can just follow up and land the charm, because Crash actually used the shockwave to clear away the wave to try to be able to get a reset for themselves, but now kind of in a bad spot. So is NBK as well with no mana. Crash just going to be able to pick up a plate, shove another wave, and get a recall there, but I do see another potential regank. But
Mystic. Perfectly predicting the arcane shift, and now Mustard trying to DPS over the top, but Unbreakable just keeping Mystic alive. It looked really fancy, but not too much for the results.
All right, we'll call it a prediction, but I think it was just a whiff initially, but ends up being a prediction. And Silly Goofy, the hero of that play, using that stand behind me into Unbreakable combo, just keeps Mystic alive. But I do like the idea there coming out from the Dorado bot lane. That is what you have to do. You got to punish this Ezreal as he has no summoners. Do not give him a free time in this lane. But I think we could see a potential play come again out of this bot lane. Gremlin does have that Hex Flash, can look to go for something.
Yeah, and level 6 just ticked over for Gremlin as well, so the depth charge is going to be available. But without Killer Instinct, it's so hard for them to have enough damage to follow up once Mystic's able to jump away with the Arcane Shift. But the Unbreakable has also been used, so if they want to just kind of force a fight, this would be a really strong time for it. But looking over at the objective timers right now, Dragon is currently up and live on the map as we're seeing so much trading going on in the top side, just seeing these two tanks stacking up that HP from those grasp stacks. And both sides are starting to group around this objective. It is going to be the Hex Tech Dragon and the second dragon of the game. Both sides are fully set up, but no one's pulling the trigger quite yet.
Oh, a nice cancel there by A's on that CaliG back and force him to stay in this lane. But we'll see if a fight does break out here, the way these two teams are positioning around the Dragon. They want to look for Gremlin to pull the trigger, but it feels so bad to try to do that in the face of that Braum, just because he's such a good answer into the Nautilus play. But right now, it's just both teams just kind of posturing around, nothing really starting up in this lane.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like neither side wants to be the one to start it, though. As they say that OverSoul, they are going to get started on this Dragon. They have the prio in the top side from Ace, and Mystic is in the bot lane just catching that wave, so should just be free for them as the Ensemble Onslaught does land underneath the turret as well. Ace takes so much damage and will just get one shot by the Scion CaliG with a very true solo bolo in the top lane.
Yeah, what a play by CaliG. Oh wait, Deathmaster could be in a bad spot here.
Deathmaster Pones is just gonna flag and drag over the wall, so should be fine. But now Halser jumping in, has the pillar. Mystic with the Arcane Shift over the wall, but the charm is gonna land, and NBK gonna be able to secure that kill. So 2-0 on the map, and just for the Dragon for OverSoul at the end of all of those plays.
Yeah, and Dorado now the ones with the gold lead despite being down early. I think it's because CaliG's been picking up a few plates up here in the top side, and also the solo kill into the follow-up kill in the bot side, the 2-for-0 across map. Looking good in this game too on the side of Dorado, you know, after a rough looking game number 1. Looking a lot more poised here and willing to pull triggers in this game number 2. We see a lot of people coming up on these first items now. You see 3 completed on the side of Dorado Gaming. Well, both top laners, they both got those heart steals, just going to be making bonk sounds across the map with each other. As both mid laners are on one item, you can say Crash is on like half an item because it's not that fully upgraded into that Seraph's Embrace at this point, just the Archangel Staff.
Yeah, but because of the grubs, A's is going to be able to get such a solid push in the top side. And I don't remember if we mentioned it, I don't think we did, but that was the feats of strength going over to OverSoul with that Dragon going down. So we'll give them a little bit of that extra scaling. And just look at the boots that they have selected for themselves. The Swifties in the top side for A's. I'm a little bit surprised about that. But at the same time, it's going to give a lot of adaptive force when those tier 3 boots are going to be able to come out. And Cho'Gath already deals a lot of damage. That's just the nature of Cho'Gath, is one of those damage-oriented tanks. but in kind of to balance it out, doesn't have as easily ready CC as a lot of the other top lane tanks do. So gonna be interesting to see just how much they're gonna be able to utilize that damage, if they're gonna be able to land those ruptures, and then just watching the burst coming out from the feast later on. If Mustard gets caught in one of them, I think could be just completely burst down, as Ace gotta start running it up, and the rupture not gonna land, but Mustard already at half HP just from a few autos and will be forced to flash for flash. But now the pillar is coming out to the top, and Ace has everything going down. All the stats are starting to be drained. The subjugate is there, but the shockwave lands on to 4, and then they have the cataclysm over top, but do they have the damage? And Deathmaster Poe's forced to flash away, but will get chomped on anyway, and it's gonna be a 3-for-1 for Dorado Gaming.
Yeah, they don't have the damage. It's on the side of Dorado at this point in the game. And Cali G with a huge TP play up to the top side, hits a huge 3-man unstoppable onslaught, gets so much damage down. Crash tried to do their best with Deathmaster there with that Shockwave Cataclysm combo, but just not enough damage to follow it up because Mystic wasn't there. And we saw Dorado just run over in that team fight, and that should be priority for them for this Rift Herald. Dorado not going down without a fight in this series, already looking pretty good here in this game number 2. It is still anybody's game at this point with how these teams have been playing, but Dorado Gaming the ones in control right now.
Yeah, and they're going to be able to take the Herald with this, and they're going to start continuing growing their gold lead. 1.4k up right now, going to be a little bit more with that Herald going down as well. So closer to around the 1.5k mark. And that's the sign of a starting healthy gold lead. So if they're able to continue this trend, if they're able to continue winning out those fights, and it will get harder because Crash will eventually have more and more damage coming through with this build. That shockwave combo will be able to really threaten them more and more. Because last time Mustard and NBK, they did survive, but they're not going to get much tank here, especially with NBK going the Malignance build, not going to be getting any of those defensive items that we see, like Archangels coming out from Crash. But overall, I think OverSoul, they're still okay. Ace is winning pretty hard in the top lane, will be able to take the first turret out on their own. And in the bot lane, Mystic 1 and 2, but has still been able to farm and is starting to get close to that 2-item power spike that we like to see for those Ezreals, as they do come online a little bit earlier. But now the next dragon spawning in 30 seconds, and I think that's going to be our next point of engagement.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this team fight does go down, just because of how the last couple ones have gone. Gremlin looking for the Hex Flash play, but was spotted out from Crash getting that command dissonance over the wall with the command attack. But right now, it is the river priority to the side of Dorado Gaming. Also, Cali G now parked in this mid lane is going to be massive, because that means he just has the free path to use that ultimate. And Shockwave used.
I'm very surprised about that, but now the unstoppable onslaught going towards the back line, and just a lot of major teamfighting ultimates kind of used for nothing.
Yeah, a little shocked about all of that, honestly. The shockwave being used just to stop a Q from a Scion, and then Cali G going aggressive there with the unstoppable onslaught, trying to get multiple people in the backside with the turret still standing, so the Rift Herald was not able to pick it up, but they still get priority on the side of Dorado. They're still able to pick up Dragon.
Yeah, but now Gremlin is walking in, and Silly Goofy could be in a bad spot, will be forced to flash. Gremlin trying to follow with that dredge line, but not going to be able to really get an angle to follow up on that play. So it is just going to be the first dragon of the game going over to Dorado, 2-1 right now in favor of OverSoul. But they'll be able to stop that stacking, and that was another way that OverSoul could look to get back into this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dorado, despite some interesting uses of ultimates there in the mid lane, are the ones coming out better for that one, even though the gold lead hasn't grown for them because the first turret was claimed by the side of OverSoul, and they weren't able to pick up the one with the mid lane with the use of that Rift Herald. But, I mean, right now, they are still looking good, even though Mustard doesn't have a kill yet, is on that 1.5 item, getting close to that Rage Blade for the second item. Looking good in this game, especially with how NBK has been playing with Holzer kind of being a driving force for this team, is going to help get Mustard to that later game stage and be able to be a carry in these team fights. But that doesn't mean OverSoul is out of it yet, because they are still scaling up. You still need another item on Crash. Mystic still needs to complete that Muramana as well, and then be able to start pumping out damage in these team fights. The question is, if Dorado is able to a great gold lead, as we've kind of seen it dwindle in the last couple of minutes to being close to even, but now starting to grow it up as they pick up some sideways, pick up some gold, but still have a lot of gold to claim for both sides with these tier 1s still being intact.
Yeah, there's a lot of gold to claim for both of these two teams, and I think a big part of this that's going to really change things up is which of these two mega tanks is going to end up being tankier. And so far from what we've seen, it is going to be Kali G on that Sion. There's a reason why Sion is typically more popular than the Cho'Gath to begin with, and we can even kind of see it in those hard steel stacks. 110 for Kali G, only 41 on A's. And the infinite stacking for the HP is going to be there for both, but Kali G going to have a much easier time getting those stacks. As you see Dorado Gaming Iota, they're just going to power through the mid lane, take that mid tier 1, and kind of going in with the squad all the way to the bot lane. They might just try to force down this tier 1 in the bot lane too.
Yeah, they could look to do that, but I think right now they're just kind of looking for vision, seeing if OverSoul is there, possibly overextended, as right now nothing is really happening. But actually, that's a lie. Otacon is actually being started up here by the side of OverSoul.
Yeah, but do they have the damage? Mystic is not there yet. Crash only now showing up. TP is going to be coming out on the top side for NBK as Kali G is getting targeted, but that's not the target you want. Now the Shockwave will land, and Mustard is going to be the one caught into it. Ace trying to get the damage as Crash will be going down in the backline. Now NBK going through. Mystic trying to survive, but Gremlin with the Ignite can be able to secure that kill. Deathmaster Potes all alone into 4, and now the depth charge to get on Ace. Silly Goofy actually going to survive for a little bit. Will get smited by Hauser for the kill, and it's just going to be Ace versus NBK and Gremlin. I don't think they'll be able to take each other down, but either way, it's a 4-for-1 for Dorado, and there go the ones that are going to be able to secure this Otacon.
Yeah, OverSoul maybe trying to force a little bit too early there. Like you said, do they have the damage? The answer is no, because they're an Orianna Ezreal. These champions need 2 items to really start pumping out damage in these fights, and then just not able to get to that point at this time in the game. It just kind of feels like because they've been forcing fights, they've been forced to play the way Dorado wants to. They're not able to scale up and get to a point where they're strong, where the composition of Dorado, they are so strong on one item, especially like the Trundle and the Ahri. Like, yes, Kai'Sa wants more items, but can still be very effective on one item. And because of that, Dorado just runs rampant in that team fight. Kali G basically took no damage that entire time and just became a massive issue for the backliners of OverSoul. They would have picked up the Otacon, and like I said, are they able to grow a gold lead? They're up about 2, almost 3k now, and looking good here. They need to continue to push the advantages that they do have. It looks like the next play is going to be this bot lane tier 1. As I say that, they're backing away. The wave is just going to die, so there is going to be nothing there for them to claim at this point. But still, Dorado Gaming looking pretty good here at the start of game number 2.
Yeah, the dragon is going to be spawning up, and Kali G is already unkillable, but we're in a map state where it is possible that they get 4 mountain drakes on the side of Dorado Gaming. If you thought Kali G is hard to kill now, once all 4 of those mountains go down, assuming they are, it's just going to be a completely unstoppable rock in the top. It just will never be moved at all. And now we are going to be seeing them try to make a pseudo play. Unstoppable Onslaught is going to get burned, but it looks like OverSoul, they're not even going to try to contest for this dragon. They're just trying to get some kind of pick off in the side lane, but they're just not able to find it. They're not able to reach. And I think the lack of damage in their team composition is really starting to show cracks for this whole game too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Kali G is the play you can be making on the side lane because you don't have damage to kill him. And now there's going to be a play happening in the middle.
Coming down, looking towards Ace, and now the Spirit Rush and the Charm. Dredgeline over top. You can't take down Kali G, but we can definitely take down your tank. Ace is going to be the first to go down. Hauser is dominating, and now Kali G coming in from behind. Deathmaster Pose is alone. And now the Glacial Fish will buy a little bit of time, but a very little bit of time. NBK has one more charge. Could look for the charm and will be able to land it, and the shockwave does land on 3, but it might not even matter. Mustard dealing so much damage on the back and just free hitting. Mystic trying to follow up on a kill. NBK will end up burning down, and it's actually 2 kills going over towards Mystic, but now Mustard has managed to get on top. Dredgeline lands as well. Double kill coming through. Make that a triple, as never mind, Gremlin takes it, but it's an ace for Dorado Gaming.
Yeah, Dorado, they find the play in the mid lane. They instantly get rid of the super tank, like you said. That subjugate is such a strong ability against these super tanks, and they drafted one into it. They were willing to pick the Cho'Gath into the Trundle, and we saw how quickly he was able to get melted in that fight. And then Mustard basically untouched the entire time, just raining hellfire over top of the side of OverSoul Esports. It was a nice shockwave there at a Crash, and Mystic playing out really well, pumping out a lot of damage and picking up some crucial kills to not have too much damage happen to their side of the map. But Dorado Gaming looking good in that team fight, especially shout out Mustard and Gremlin. You know, don't take that kill next time. Maybe I missed the hook, but otherwise looked really good there too, finding some clutch hooks, engages, and everything for the side of Dorado. Now the next question is, are they going to be looking to force this Baron on spawn, or just kind of slow playing it, waiting for the next dragon to spawn to get even tankier for them?
Yeah, it's just gonna get stronger and stronger, especially Kali G and Hulzer gonna definitely be winning out the most on this Mountain Drake. But honestly, same with Gremlin and NBK and Mustard, because they're diving in, they're never gonna be upset at having that extra shield for themselves. But as for Gremlin taking that kill, I will say, as someone who used to be a support main, I have always said, you don't want me to take the kill, you gotta last hit a little bit better. But hopefully that's all Gremlin's been saying. And frankly, having watched this duo for a decently long amount of time now across multiple leagues, I think that they're just so in sync right now. I think giving one kill over, definitely not the end of the road. You definitely would prefer on Mustard, but they're 3, 2, and 7. They have their 3-item spike, and with all this pride that they're able to get, they're even looking to get onto the Baron. And actually the TP going to be coming through. Dorado is going to pull off, and maybe Ace is going to be the target. Dredgeline is going to go wide. Gremlin starting to take a lot of poke from those Mystic shots, but the engage isn't able to start. As they say that, the ensemble alongside of the backline as Ace just gets one shot in the backline, and now the death charge lands on it to the Glacial Fisher and buys a little bit of time. Shockwave again onto 4, but again it doesn't matter. Mystic gonna be gone. Triple kill right now for Hulzer. Crash gonna be the final survivor for now. We'll be able to flash away, and the flash charm not gonna be able to land. Hulzer still chasing forward with the Baylor. MBK gonna be going down to the turret as the Monster gonna flash forward, help with a kill. It's gonna be an ace, and it's gonna be a quad for Hulzer.
Yeah, and that might just be the end of the game at this point, because a wave is already here for the side of Dorado. They also have Scion, who can just tank up these turrets. The question is if they're able to actually do it, because Deathmaster spawns quickly, and so does A's. They're not going to push it. They're not going to force it. They're just going to fall off after taking the inhib, winning a team fight, take their reset, and look to set up around this Baron again. And Crash trying their damnedest. Another 4-man shockwave didn't matter because Mustard wasn't in it, and the damage was true. Hulzer is so actually deceptively tanky at this point in the game for a Trundle, especially when he starts stealing those resistances away from A's. Dorado looking like they're gonna put us onto an even series point at this moment with the state this game is.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm watching OverSoul, and it's so hard to imagine what they need to do to get wins for those fights, because those shockwaves are hitting onto 4 members at least in every single one of these team fights. They just don't have the stats to follow up behind it. You can't even look for pickoff plays, because the only one that's ever in a position for that is Kali G. And I think you will literally need a full minute to take down this Cho'Gath, this Scion, in a 5v1. Just not someone you could really easily target. And like you said, they're just going to get started on that play again. They started off the Baron last time, pulled off for the team fight. However, this time it looks like OverSoul, they're just going to be okay giving up the Baron, and they're going to trade it for the Mountain Dragon, and at the very least stop the stacking for a little while.
Yeah, and they're able to do it quickly. They have quote-unquote double smite, as they have the Cho'Gath Feast and the smite from Deathmaster Pose themselves, but never mind, Kali G's going in. Yeah, the Ensemble Onslaught is there. It is going to get blocked by Silly Goofy, but it looks like Dorado, they're looking to start a base race. Kali G is just there to get in their way, try to prevent these recalls for as long as possible. The rest of the roster going in right now. They're on the Nexus already, and it is going to be everyone able to get back, and
now the shockwave lands onto 2, but the charm lands onto Crash, and Mustard going to be going on a killing spree, able to get the last hit on that one. The next turns, both starting to get low. One of them is already gone. Deathmaster Pone, Cataclysm in the backline, but it's just going to be Deathmaster Pone stuck inside it, and Cali G starting it low, but still has Flash, able to get back to safety. Another wave is here. It is baroned up. Aegis is gone. Silly Goofy, the last one remaining in the front line. Mystic, the last one remaining in the back line, and they can even ignore because it is time for Dorado to come back, and they are up 1-1.
Yeah, and Dorado looked like a different team in this game number 2. Basically pure domination almost that entire game, despite a couple early plays that went the side of OverSoul, but it did not matter. Dorado looking so good and led by Holzer on this B1 Trundle, an absolute menace in the game. We've seen 2 run at you dominating junglers from both sides so far in this series. I wonder what run at jungler do we have left for these teams if that's how they want to be playing this series.
I mean, Olaf's still in the pool. I mean, we haven't seen this coming out from any of those teams yet, but definitely could be a lot of fun to watch. But we have ourselves a series. It is a 1-1. Both games were kind of dominating in their own fashion. And hopefully game 3 gonna be a close one, as we are gonna be headed to a break. But when we come back, we'll be headed right into draft. Hello, welcome back everyone, and we are here in the draft for game 3 between OverSoul Scream and Dorado Gaming Iota. And we're all tied up 1-1, so we're gonna have at least 2 more games tonight. And Jong, what are you predicting for this game 3?
It's really hard to say. I think Oversoul should draft damage in this game, and Dorado should just do more of the same. They looked really good on that style of composition, especially with how they played later stages of that game, just really choked Oversoul out of it. I think if Oversoul had another damage output, it could have been a different series, could have been a lot different circumstances in those team fights where Crash was getting multi-man shockwaves, but there was just no follow-up on it. But I think the side of Dorado just kind of do more of the same. It looked really good. You guys felt really confident on it just from the viewer perspective. But I think Oversoul, they kind of got to go back to game number 1 where they have 3, potentially 4 actual damage champions and possibilities for their composition. But it just kind of felt like it just fell off a cliff after a couple of good early game skirmishes once those first items came out for Dorado. So I think a lot needs to change for Oversoul in composition building wise, but I think Dorado just needs to keep it stock standard more the same like they did in game 2.
And we're going to be able to see once you do get this draft going, but I think one difficult part is going to be replacing that sound for Cali G if they do want to keep it that exact same style. Again, because of Fearless, there's really not too many tanks that can boast defenses as high as the Scion. There is the Ornn, but we did see Oversoul, they did actually ban it away in game number 2. Granted, that was during the second phase. So if they're feeling a bit confident, if they do want to redo that, they could take the Ornn early in the first 3, but with jungle and AD carry pool kind of getting pinched, it might not be worth prioritizing.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of really strong tanks that people don't play a lot. You still got Malphite, Dr. Mundo is still there. Like you said, the Ornn. A champion I think is sneakily good that not a lot of people play is Singed. It's such a weird pick. I remember back in the days when Impact was pulling that champion out and everybody was like, what does this thing do? But I still think top, you still have viable tanks, even though that's not the meta most of the time now that especially Scion's out and Ornn is the only one left. You still have Cassante, for example, who has the tankiness and then can also one-shot any AD carry at any moment because Cassante things. But I think bans are going to be relatively the same. My question is with the side swap, what is Oversoul's B1 here? What is their priority? If it is that jungle pool, like you did mention, that has been getting smaller, or if it is going to be one of these strong AD carries that are still available that we haven't seen yet, Tristan is still up, Varus is still up, something of those likes. It's just definitely going to be interesting to see what the focus is for both sides here in these first couple of picks.
Yeah, as we are seeing a bit of a different ban this time around, the Jinx getting banned out by Oversoul. So it makes me think that maybe they're looking at a shorter ranged AD carry because Caitlyn's out of the pool because of the Fearless ban. And then outside of that, Jinx probably has the longest range. So I'm wondering if they're maybe thinking of maybe something like an Ashe even. I know it's not super popular right now. It's definitely not meta, but Jinx is pretty good into Ashe. Obviously can just kind of outrange her and then throw down those flame chompers to prevent her running you down, as Ashe does to pretty much every other AD carry in the game. But yeah, I'm trying to think of for reasons why they would ban that Jinx, because it hasn't been a priority for Dorado for a little while. We've seen them in the semifinals. I've seen them over at Titan. I don't think it was something they ever really were trying to make sure they got. But for now, it's just going to be the Pantheon locked in for Oversoul. So just going for that jungle. We're going to have to see what marksman they take, though, because I'm so curious about this now.
Well, the Jinx ban is so they don't ban Pantheon, because then Dorado has to choose if they're banning Pantheon or if they're banning Vladimir, and whichever one was up, Oversoul was most likely going to be one here, and that's why they choose to ban the Jinx, who is the one of the few hyper carries still left in the game of League of Legends. As I say few, I could probably rattle off 5 off the top of my head, but I'm not going to go through that and bore the viewers of that. But going to pick the Pantheon. It's immediately answered by a Skarner here, which is definitely an interesting choice. I'm not sure how that matchup does play out, but Skarner has all that gank potential that you want, has the impale to get multiple people, but it is a little bit slow, so it is easy to flash out of. So you kind of want a secured primary engage, and with Leona being gone and the Nautilus being gone, you start to fall back to Rakan, Rel, stuff like this, maybe even Tom Kench, but I think with the Sivir pick, Dorado's going to be looking for a more Enchanter style of support in this game. Definitely an interesting early Sivir pick here. After already seeing a Pantheon, you're going to have really good spell shield fingers in this one, especially if OverSoul does start to draft more CC and more stuff to try to burn that ability early to be able to get that guaranteed engage onto the Sivir.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to have to see, but if the Pantheon is able to get Twitch. Speaking of hyper carries, you said removing the Jinx for those two hyper carry potentials, but we have the Saber locked in for Dorado and then Twitch for OverSoul now. Okay. Twitch Yumi. Are we going to be able to see that coming out? No, but it's so much fun to watch because you can't see the Yumi either. It's just all of a sudden, boop, there's the AD carry and the support right in your face. But this is a hyper carry, and this is one that's going to be able to deal a lot of damage just through everything. One potential thing is this could be the AP Twitch that has definitely been coming out in priority, but at the same time, with the spell shield, could be a little bit more complicated to play into the Sivir, especially with the Lulu beside it. But I mean, these are both very high scaling bot lanes right now from both these two squads.
See, I wanted OverSoul to go full traditional submarine composition where you draft the Twitch, get the Yumi attached, and then you shed ult on top of the invisible Twitch. So then out of nowhere, there's a shed on your backline and a Twitch and just going crazy. It's so funny if you ever actually do want to play that composition. It is the funniest thing to have a flanking Twitch behind the enemy team, and then out of nowhere, there's a shed taunting up your entire backline, and then you just don't get to play the fight anymore. But Twitch is a really good answer into Sivir because she is one of those marksmen that likes to run lethal tempo. I think Twitch is a really good answer into almost any lethal tempo AD carry. It's a really good into Jinx. It's good into Ashe. It's okay into Sivir. It's good into Zeri. It's also really good into Aphelios because before they're able to scale up that lethal tempo, you just pop up, you pop the R, and then you expunge them, and they're basically wiped off the face of the earth. And that's exactly what the side of OverSoul and Mystic are going to be looking to do on this game. But the amount of scaling, like you said, in both of these bot lanes, your Twitch Milio against Sivir Lulu, there's either going to be zero focus bot lane or only focus bot lane to get these hyper carries super accelerated into this game. But we're getting more of these carry style top laners banned away from Cali G. He's not going to be getting Jax, no Gwen available to him, as the Aatrox and Mundo ban are the answers on the other side. So not wanting to give OverSoul a hyper tank that is really strong and can take a lot of damage, which is kind of what OverSoul needs right now. But with no engage supports and no strong frontliners, I'm kind of expecting a tank out of OverSoul. I mean, Dorado's already got the Skarner, so they can go with a more of a bruiser style top laner. It just depends on if that's what they want to go for. I assume Cali G is going to be getting that R5 pick here, though.
Yeah, but I mean, Ornn is still in the pool. I think Ornn could be a very solid pick, honestly, for both of these two teams. There's no real full tank burner on either of these two sides. And then, I mean, you were talking about the submarine build. Shen genuinely would not be bad for OverSoul here. They need someone to frontline. Right now, Skarner's not going to be dealing that much damage. Lulu's not going to be dealing that much damage. Victor will be. But outside of that, if you have that shield coming out from Shen, you're basically negating most of these characters. So could be a genuine argument for OverSoul to lock that in if they do play it in the top lane. But it's going to be Lux answered in the mid lane. I mean, Season of Leaves kind of be coming through here. We're going to be able to see if that burst potential is going to be there. It's going to be a bit harder with the Lulu around, but you land one of those late bindings and you can definitely delete multiple of these members off the map.
Yeah, especially if there's that. Yes. Okay, I'm really happy. Okay, I love Malphite. Unironically, when I play top lane, I play Malphite. I do not care, and I'm not going this full AP funny haha banana build. I'm gonna kill you with an R. I just go full tank, and I still solo kill every top laner. I think Malphite is incredibly good and fun, and yeah, the fun stops when the number one counter pick to Malphite is picked. It doesn't matter what role the Sylas is in. A full access to the unstoppable full AP onslaught is kind of disgusting. So it's going to actually be the Sylas top here for Cali G as the answer into the Malphite pick. And I really do like that out of Dorado's draft. The question is if Holzer is going to be enough of a front line for their team with how much burst potential is on the side of OverSoul.
So, fun fact for those of you who didn't know, top lane Malphite versus top lane Sylas. Sylas is the single strongest counter pick for any lane, any matchup in all of League of Legends. Sylas is that much better against Malphite, especially in that top lane. So CaliG going to be very favored up here, and Deathmaster Pones could definitely make it a little bit easier, could definitely set up Ace to get ahead, but the Unstoppable Force with a full AP champion that's going to be able to get into the backline, kind of engage for himself, that's going to be such a scary prospect coming out for OverSoul.
Yeah, and it's also not just in top lane. I remember a while back seeing August talk about how I'm pretty sure Sylas has like a 60% win rate when Malphite is in the game, and it doesn't matter what role Sylas is playing. It is just a universal counter pick into Malphite only because of access to that ultimate. So really excited to see how CaliG actually ends up playing in this matchup and how much access and use he actually gets out of that ult. And also there's a few good ults for him to take in this game. You know, you even have the silly goofy ult, even Crash with that I'm forgetting the name, Final Spark, even having that, even the Skyfall Descent isn't even that bad for Sylas to have access to either. So I really do like the Sylas pick in this matchup and in this game overall.
Yeah, it's going to make the engagements a little bit more complicated for them, but it's definitely going to be doable. So I mean, all we have left to do is just kind of see what they're going to be able to do here, as we are ready for game number 3 coming out right now between OverSoul, Esports, Scream, and Dorado Gaming Iota. But this Sylas pick, they're not going to have a huge front line. That's the thing. It's just going to be this Skarner. And the Skarner, like you said at the start of the draft, isn't that fast at engagement. So ironically, it does force CaliG into that role with that Unstoppable Force. So if they're able to seal away that ultimate, if Malphite is near the fight at the start, it could be very good for Dorado. But if Ace is split pushing, for example, and CaliG isn't able to steal that, they could have a very hard time starting fights on Dorado.
Yeah, definitely is going to be hard on Dorado to start fights, like you were saying, if they don't have the access to the Malphite ult, or even, you know, holes are getting a nice engage. It becomes very, very easy to not have the engage potentials, but also you can just kind of run down the enemy team with the Sivir. It just all depends on how Dorado wants to play team fights if they don't have access to those crucial abilities that they need to actually start off fights on their terms. As we just see, once again, some early plays for Vision here. A lot of wards on this top side jungle for the side of OverSoul on both the red buff and the Raptors.
Yeah, a lot of Vision coming out right now, but they will be able to clear away some of it at the very least. So Silly Goofy this time going to be the one with the sweeper. But let's talk about this mid lane matchup more, because I don't know if you've ever had the pleasure of playing into a Lux mid lane, but it is probably one of the single most uninteractive lanes in the entire game. Once the Lux is strong enough, she can just one-shot the waves and leave. And at no point do you even see her. At no point do you really have a chance to make a play on her. Now I'm wondering, do you think that's something that could be good for the Victor, good for NBK to just kind of match that scaling, match that free farm, and then maybe make a play later on when the Victor does scale?
I do think it's going to be rough in the laning phase for NBK, but okay in the grand scheme of the game if Crash doesn't get too far ahead. I went and looked at this matchup on Lava Analytics. It's a pretty strong matchup for Lux, having about a 53% win rate in this one. So really have to see if Crash is able to push the advantage that innately comes with this Lux non-interactive lanes. But Victor does scale better than Lux in a way, because like Lux is like a burst mage. She's gonna throw out one combo and potentially one shot almost everybody on the side of Dorado, but the side of Victor is a much more consistent damage control mage. So it really comes down to if there's enough advantage built up for Crash, or if NBK is able to kind of stay even and be able to scale up into this game. But it's a lot easier said than done, especially if you're worried about walking up to catch waves inside lanes, if there is a Twitch running at you invisibly and can just potentially one-shot you.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going to be a threat as we see NBK take a huge burst of damage. You land that light binding, it sets everything else up. And if you thread those autos as well, Lux can deal a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. Unfortunately, what was the cannon though? -1. Sorry, Crash had to do like that. But right now the CS numbers are pretty even across the map. Mystic is a little bit behind in the bot lane, as we haven't mentioned this, but both AD carries have gone ghost. So that leads me to believe that both are just not really caring too much about the lane, just trying to think more about those late game team fights, because that's where the ghost really comes into play. But we might be seeing a gank coming down here right now from Deathmaster Pones, but can they set something up? Mustard and Gremlin, they're already on their way out, will get the shield, and Gremlin is going to be the target. The spell shield not going to be able to find the ultra mega fire kick, not going to be able to land on a Gremlin, but the heal is going to be used. The expunge is going to be enough. I thought Gremlin was out, but Mystic able to get the first blood for OverSoul.
Yeah, and Gremlin also flashed on that play, trying to get out of the expunge range, but the animation was already in the air after the flash, so ends up falling down there. Mystic getting first blood is so crucial. Like I said, we're going to see no action bot lane or only action bot lane to get these hyper carries ahead, and with Mystic getting that first blood, it feels so good on the side of OverSoul. And we're seeing Cali take a lot of harassment in this lane. It is expected early for Sylas to take a lot of poke from this Malphite with those Qs and that arcane comment, which I do like that Aegis is going for in this matchup. But it's going to start to flip very soon in this matchup. Once Sylas gets that level 6 and starts getting some items in that inventory, it's going to be very hard for Aegis to play out this matchup, and we're kind of starting to see that right now with Kali G getting a little aggressive there. Misses the E2, so not able to CC up Aegis in that one.
Yeah, the hijack's definitely a big part of this match, but it's also the Kingslayer, because Malphite does have very strong base values. So obviously right now the Seismic Shard is going to be dealing a lot of poke damage, but Kali G is going to be getting HP, going to be getting AP, and Ace is not. Ace is not going to be dealing more and more damage as the game goes on. At least I don't expect it. In theory, it could be the haha funny AP Malphite build, but I really doubt that's where we're going to be going, especially in a competitive match. But Kali G is just going to be able to heal more and more with each one of those trades. That Kingslayer is going to have more and more value as the game goes on, and the Malphite's just not going to be able to keep up with it. And at that point, that's when the matchup gets really difficult. And once enough poke comes through, then comes the hijack, then comes the unstoppable force, and then comes the lead for Kali G, because this is a terrible matchup for Malphite. We all know this, but at the very least, for now, Ace is holding on, and with the bot lane pressure that they have for OverSoul, they're even going to be able to take this first dragon of the game.
Yeah, and also, if people weren't aware, there was a bug earlier today with Sylas that got hot fixed out. If nobody knows it, it was a bug on his W, actually, where it dealt way more crit damage than it was supposed to. So for a while, the build on Sylas, when it was in effect, was just IE into crit
but now they're coming into the top side. Never mind, just going to be unstoppable force coming out from Ace.
Yeah, but it was just IE the crit cloaks, and you would just one-shot anybody in your sight, but that got fixed. So, oh, sorry, I'm seeing in chat. It was his passive, not his W. Yeah, his passive dealt insane crit damage. So you just build IE and crit cloaks and just one-shot everybody, but that got fixed. So we're just going to see the normal AP build coming out from Kali G in this game. And, hey, it makes sense when the funny build is taken out of the game, as I think, you know, I am happy they fixed it, because that was just toxic to see. But overall, it's just going to be a pretty steady game here. I assume that Mustard should always have a CS advantage in this lane, not in the game, just because Sivir is very good at clearing waves, and it's actually a little bit harder sometimes to get those last hits at Twitch because of that passive. But overall, despite that first blood, it's pretty even across the board, except for in just CS departments right now. It's the lead for the side of Dorado in the bot lane, and Kali G with the lead right now up in the top lane.
Yeah, but they could be setting up a dive there. Deathmaster Pones is in the area, but without unstoppable force, it does get a lot more complex if they do want to make this dive happen. So they're just going to back off. Kali G going to be resetting there. But we are seeing the builds starting to show themselves a bit. Ace is going to be going the Negatron Cloak first. Not sure what item that's going to be building into. There are a few options, but we're definitely going to be seeing a lot of bursts coming out of Kali G. That's the main thing. But now Halzer is going to be in the area looking for that Ishtal's impact, but will get scouted out. Light binding back up, and actually a decent amount of poke, and Crash ends up being the victor on this trade, and we'll continue chasing. Not going to be able to land the second Lucent binding, but Halzer down to 1/4 HP, and because of that, that should just be the grabs going over to OverSoul.
We'll see. We see Cali G is in the area right now. He could look to hijack away that ultimate from Aegis, but I don't think he steals it. And it looks like
he's gonna be stealing it right now. Deathmaster Pones is just gonna get burst down immediately. Now it is 3v4. The ultimates have been used. Crash still has final spark if they're able to find the angle. Now NBK's alone, and now there's Assault Force gonna get used, but flashed out by NBK. So it is gonna be 2 grubs at least going over. But now Crash with a combo, not gonna have enough damage. As in the bot lane, Mystic trying to run down Mustard. The X-Punch will get spell shielded, so the big burst not going to be able to come through. And Dorado Gaming to get themselves a kill, to get themselves 2 of the grubs, and then to get out.
Yeah, and we saw Mystic go for that. The shard. The shard is rolling into the base. Oh, we don't get to see a hit.
Shard. There it is. Get wrecked, Gremlin. That's the game over.
Yep, game over. A's wins the game off of that seismic shard landing in the base. But also in the bot lane, we saw Mystic get aggressive like that because they hit the level 6 spike before Mustard, so just went all in, forcing both summoners out of Mustard. And that means Mystic, when that ult does come back up, can just look to do that once again and force more out of Mustard, push him back in the lane, and make it very difficult to continue to play this lane. But luckily, everybody survives in the top side on the side of Dorado, despite the damage that came out there from Crash. A nice use of the wild growth by Gremlin keeps them just alive enough, but overall Dorado is looking good, and so is OverSoul in this game, not to say the least. It was just a very close fight in the top side that was kind of solo won by Cali G, getting the kill on the Deathmaster Pones to have his team walk away with 2 grubs there.
Yeah, and we're even seeing that this top lane is starting to get harder and harder, and Cali G got the kill too. So that's kind of the worst situation possible for OverSoul, because this house is just going to be getting stronger and stronger. That stolen unstoppable force is going to become stronger and stronger. Now, but like you said, Silas is a champion that they're going to be able to burst later on. If OverSoul find the right position, they can take down Cali G. And from there on, the composition is actually a little bit weaker, I'd say, overall for Dorado. So it's going to be very much on Cali G to stay strong, keep that mental, keep that kind of... basically just keep that mental in check, making sure that the unstoppable force is used at the right time, in the right place. It's not stolen too early. It's a lot to put on one player, but Cali G has been really good for this whole league. As now we see the Impale 2 coming out, NBK over top. We'll have the Arcane Storm. Will get hit by the Lucent Binding, and as well with a Lucent Singularity, but Deathmaster Bone still getting a run down. The Hextech Ray from NBK, more than enough damage, and again, picking off the jungler as the dragon spawns. Nice play coming out from Dorado.
Yeah, it's also big that NBK got that kill because he is going for that more scaling build. We already see that Rod of Ages in the inventory at 1 stack. So looking to scale more than have that like upright damage in these team fights early in this game. So getting a kill early is going to help them a lot in like their build path, and also being able to get online with damage a lot earlier. Also getting those upgrades, hitting all those abilities also does help with that, obviously. But right now, Dorado's kind of getting what they want. They got the grub fight. They got the kill onto Deathmaster, which turned it into a dragon for them. So now they're just 1 kill and 1 neutral objective away from claiming feats. But, I mean, this game can still go either way. It feels really rough right now as Deathmaster getting caught out twice. Once at that grubs and then right there on his Raptors. But if this Pantheon can start getting some effective ganks and start to get online for themselves, the damage and the threat that it can have is going to be massive in this game.
Yeah, but Lucent Binding just not going to be in range. They try to get the slow just so that Crash could land, and I think they could have definitely gotten that kill since MBK no longer has that flash. But we'll just be able to walk back. And actually, I'm noticing right now, Crash flashed forward trying to get that Lucent Binding to land. So that's actually going to be a gank in favor of Dorado, because that's going to be that big summoner burn. Now, luckily Lux is pretty safe just because of that range, but it's still going to be an opportunity for Hulzer or maybe even Cali G to jump this Lux during the next team fight. And speaking of which, Hulzer already in the area. Ishtal's impact is going to land. No fall off quite yet, and there's no Impale available yet. As now Mystic trying to focus fire, and Crash is alone in the team. 1 more auto is all that's needed, but the shield is still there, and the Hextech Ray will finish it off. NBK 201, and that's the feats of warfare going over to Dorado.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that Crash flash for that. Now Cali G is trading a little bit up here in the top lane with A's, but another kill going on to NBK. Like I said before, that is so massive to get Victor kills early, just because he scales incredibly well with gold. Also getting those stacks towards that passive to upgrade those abilities, but also with the build that NBK has chosen to go, getting early kills is very impactful for this Victor in this game. As Cali G is just trading again.
OTP coming out though, and it's from Crash. There's all horse has already been used, but it's been stolen, and Cali G just gonna use that to get away. It's a strong offensive tool, but it's such a good defensive tool as well to steal out.
Yeah, and I like Cali G being able to steal that right as he lands on the ground from A's and is able to use it before Crash is able to get there, because it might have been a flash have to be burned by Cali G if he was not able to succeed in that. But overall, I do like the idea there from OverSoul, but Cali G just able to outplay it and keep himself ahead in this lane, keep himself alive, which is also very important because it just makes it harder and harder for Ace to continue to play this game in this matchup.
Yeah, and for now, Ace is doing okay. Doesn't have any deaths yet, doesn't actually have any kill participation either. Granted, there's only been the single kill so far this game for OverSoul. At 14 and a half overall on app, but only down 13 sets, it's not too bad. As the Malphite, you do take it, but now Crash, Ishtal's impact going to be interrupted. The Lucent Binding was there in time, but still a lot of poke coming down onto this Lux.
Yeah, but the next focus is going to be this Rift Herald that spawns up here in 15 seconds. You can already see Dorado has grouped up for this, leaving once again Mustard down in the spot lane. And you can see Mustard is playing respectful to what Mystic can do and just walking all the way back to that tier 1 turret, just going to be waiting for the wave, as both sides are just starting to position here, starting to get some damage.
Yeah, but now the shield vault is going to be there, but the gravity lapse is going to be in the air. The impale is going to land onto the backline. It's going to be Silly Goofy, but the breath of life is going to be coming through. Cali G coming out from the backline. Right now, they're focused on the front line, looking for the damage on Huzzer, but Huzzer's tanky. Cali G in the backline will take down Crash. The stolen final spark, more than enough, but now Ace could be the next target. It is quite tanky as well, but it's 1v4. Ishtal's impact into the wall. Unstoppable Force is available and is going to get used to get out to safety. 1-0 for Dorado.
Yeah, and it kind of feels similar to game 2 as we do here in this game. It's who has the damage
gonna try to run down Mustard. So much damage. The expunge not gonna get spell shielded this time, but Mustard at the very least will be forced out of this lane.
And like I was saying though, who is the damage dealer that's going to kill Holzer if Mystic isn't there? And the answer is nobody. We just saw Holzer basically just do whatever he wanted in that fight and just had no answer to it. Oh.
Yeah, but they are going to be starting to fight, and Gremlin is caught out. Mystic should be given that kill over, and this time they're not going to steal it out. Mystic just going to be able to get something finally back for OverSoul. But with the Rift Herald going down, that is going to be the feats completed on the side of Dorado. They're going to be in a really strong spot this game, as they also have a 2k gold. But now Mustard could be in a bad spot. Will already burn the spell shield. Now the shield vault not going to be there, but the flash will be burned from Mustard. But Holzer could be looking for another potential engage, but not going to use the Ishtal's impact quite yet. In fact, Deathmaster Pote's gonna be knocked back into the back, but now Mustard's the one that's taking the brunt of this exchange. Final spark only gonna land on a Holzer though, and with Gremlin around, this play is becoming scarier and scarier. TP coming through from NBK. Mystic is still here on the back line. Arcane Storm starting to deal damage. Same with that Gravity Field. It's only gonna slow down onto Silly Goofy, and Silly Goofy's just gonna be able to back out. No one going down yet, but now NBK still chasing on this Milio. Same with Ishtal's impact. Grand Starfall in the backline, but the fight is now to the left, and now Lucent Binding will land onto NBK. Can they fall? But the Impale's gonna be the one there instead. They're still looking on a Holzer. They just need a little bit more damage, and Mystic will be able to provide. Deathmaster Pros gets the kill. Light Binding lands, and NBK is alone. Crash gonna secure that kill, and OverSoul Scream. They've tied up this game.
Yeah, and that was a very extended play that happened there. And because they chased on the silly Goofy, NBK and Holzer find themselves in a bad situation with only backup for Gremlin because Mustard did not follow up on that play. He was cut off from the team, so there was no real damage output if NBK wasn't landing abilities. But Mystic shows up and is kind of the hero of that play. He's able to do enough damage to help cut through Holzer. NBK almost trades back onto Crash, but the shield came out to keep Crash safe. And that just meant that OverSoul was able to win that team fight as... Okay, I thought Kalaji was going to get first turn off that, but he's just going to be able to pick it up here. In the face of Aegis, does not care.
Yeah, is out of mana right now, but now the fight happening on both fronts. Gremlin starting to get poked down. Expunge will come through, and Mystic is on a killing spree, and Aegis actually gets away. Forced to burn Flash and the Unstoppable Force to get his safety, but as the first turret is still going to be going down in the top lane.
Yeah, and because the first turret fell to Kali G, that's also the full feats that was claimed there off of that play over to Dorado Gaming. So Dorado looking good, I'll say, but so is OverSoul in this game. It's an extremely close game at this point. Mystic is very accelerated, has 100% kill participation in this game, sitting at 3-0-2. Went for the Borkus first item. I'm curious to see where else he's going to go, if he's going to go for like that Ginsu's Kraken style of build.
Oh, still coming through with the spray and pray Expunge. Again, spell shielded out by Mustard, but we're seeing just how threatening this Twitch is. Even underneath the turret, Mustard just losing most of their health.
Yeah, I mean, this is what Twitch does, and I said I did like this pick into Sivir, and we're seeing exactly why. It just feels like Mustard doesn't really get to play this game ever, and that's going to start being the case more and more for members of the side of Dorado. If they, you know, turrets start to fall, lanes start getting extended, that's where Twitch really comes online. He just has full access to run you down in these extended lanes, but we're going to have to see if OverSoul is able to start taking down more of these turrets in the mid lane and in the top lane. But right now, it's a pretty even stay in the game. Dorado has the gold advantage thanks to the first turret.
In the bot lane, Aegis is coming out from the side. Unstoppable Force is available. Can Kali G dodge it? Not yet. We'll get stunned up. And I'm missing trying to DPS over top. Breath of Life is in the area. And actually, Kali G going to be going back in, but the DPS is starting to come through. Grand Shuffle in the backline. They need to start riding left on the side of Dorado, but the Flash shield vault is going to be there. Impale on it too, but Kali G still tanking up. And Aegis is going to be able to secure that kill. Now Hulzer could be the next target, but the Arcane Storm is there. The Hextech Rays are going to be there. NBK just trying to DPS over top, but the damage just isn't there. And instead, NBK going to be turned on as well. Starting to get taken down low. A couple more autos. Pain Spray now going to be online for Mystic. NBK going to be able to walk this out, but it's a 2-for-0. But there's no objectives here to take except for the Otacon. I forgot about the Otacon. So they're going to be able to take themselves out, and that's even bigger than I thought the Dragon that they were playing for.
Yeah, and I mean, Mystic was actually so close to cleaning up more kills in that fight. He just didn't have any mana until they got that kill onto Holzer, and he got the blue buff, and then tried to get onto NBK, but had the flash over the wall to have the ability to hit on them, and then just was not able to close the range.
Oh, but now the burst almost there. Mustard will be able to survive. NBK, though, going to be chasing onto the backline. Crash is trying to get away. Light Binding is going to land, but Gremlin's in the area. Will secure that kill just in case Crash was able to back out. But it will still be the Otacon going over to OverSoul.
Yeah, OverSoul almost got caught in a bad spot. There was a TP behind from Kali G, and he almost did enough, but the focus was turned onto him, so he had to go over the wall using that abscond abduct just to keep himself safe and not fall down again and see another 30 seconds of gray screen. But now Kali G should just be able to pick up this turret in the mid lane in the meantime, but Mystic's here.
Yeah, Mystic's here, not going to use that spray and pray. I'm just coming off cooldown now. But either way, that's going to be the mid-tier 1 taken down by Kali G. And we're basically fully tied up in terms of gold. Just a 400 gold difference. Feats going the way of Dorado, but the Otacon going the way of OverSoul. I think we're basically at a complete even state right now. So it's all going to come down to execution from here on out.
Yeah, the real question is if Dorado is going to be able to threaten Mystic enough in these team fights where he's not just able to free fire through the likes of like NBK damage, Kali G on a flank, and Mustard getting damage through the team fight, or if Mystic's just going to have free reign with the CC that can come out in the protection from his team to be able to just sit there and free fire as Twitch loves to do in these team fights, and then chase down for the late kills with resets to that ambush. it is an extremely close game, and like you said, it's just going to come down to execution at this point. Basically, almost every CS is even. There's the small advantage for Mystic as Aegis might be called here.
Impact coming through. They're going to be able to land onto Aegis, but Aegis just jumping further in. And CaliG now in the background has the Unstoppable Force impale onto 2. Unstoppable Force still being held by CaliG, ready at any moment. Could be looking for Mystic, as now they do have the Lucent Beam. They're able to get the final spark, but CaliG still alive. And now Mystic will get targeted and will get one shot. Double kill for CaliG. Aegis still trying to back away, but Mustard will be able to auto them down. And just like that, it's going to be a 3-0 and the Hextech Dragon going the way of Dorado.
Like I said, Mystic wasn't able to free fire. There was enough threat onto him after his front line got caught out. They got caught out before the fight was even in a position for the rest of OverSoul.
Nothing, never mind. Continue.
All right. No. I got you. But yeah, like I was saying, Mystic wasn't in a position to be able to fight. Either was Crash. It was kind of just Deathmaster Pons and A's getting caught out. And I say caught out. They got abducted by Holzer and pulled back into the enemy team, which made it very difficult for the carries on OverSoul to go in and back them up. And CaliG steals away the Unstoppable Onslaught and the Unstoppable Force. And instead of just using it immediately, waits for Mystic to show and then gets the knockup, followed up with Gremlin using that wild growth, so he's even more airborne than before. Mystic just doesn't get to play the fight, and that is exactly what you want to see coming out of this Dorado gaming comp. You want to see CaliG using that ultimate to make sure Mystic can't play the game.
Yeah, and that's what CaliG's been doing, and I suspect that's what CaliG is going to continue to do. And right now, Mystic still needs time to be able to DPS through the team. 4-1-3 is ahead, is quite strong, but until that Infinity Edge specifically comes through, Mystic isn't really going to be able to one-shot anyone except potentially Mustard. Whether it's the Infinity Edge or it's going to be some kind of armor-piercing item, but with the pickaxe in the inventory, I feel like that is going to be the IE. That's when Mystic's going to be fully online, and then CaliG needs to make sure to get onto Mystic. And not only that, but needs to get onto Mystic fast when those team fights start, because otherwise that spray and pray is just going to absolutely shred through teams.
Yeah, and I also like that CaliG has picked up that Seeker's arm guard to give him the opportunity, if he is getting bursted down really early, to use it and then be able to wait for those cooldowns to come back to continue to cause some mayhem in the backside and have some more sustainability to himself. But it still is a close game, despite the gold lead being in favor of Dorado Gaming right now. It all just needs to be a properly set up team fight for OverSoul. But if Dorado keeps finding skirmishes like that where Mystic and Crash aren't really able to contribute to it, it should just be Dorado continuing with the momentum that they do have, as Baron is going to be the next focus. Crash already TPing to the mid lane.
Yeah, it could be a fight coming through, as the recall just barely coming out in time for Gremlin. Could have been in a very sticky situation otherwise. I'm a little bit surprised about this TP, and I'm wondering if they thought that maybe Dorado was already on the Baron, because I think otherwise there's no reason for Crash to TP to this lane. The priority on its own just isn't worth it, and even so after that they're just going to be giving up this vision. So I think that was just kind of a victory of vision coming out for Dorado.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. They had no idea if they were on it or not. The area was dark. They also weren't sure where like Mustard and BK were at that current moment. So they were like, hey, they might be on this. Let's TP early just in case we can fight for it. And it just ends up being a wasted summoner. And now Ace is going to have to be in the side lane and against CaliG, which is not what you want. You want Ace to stay as far away from CaliG for as long as possible so he cannot steal that ultimate early. But now, because Crash can't stay 30 units away and clear these waves, it's going to be easy access to that ultimate now for CaliG for the next couple of minutes. And you can see right now, Dorado isn't even forcing Baron. They have vision around it. They know there's no chance that OverSoul can stop it without it being known. So Dorado is just going to play it slow, push out sideways, pick up some camps, get some more gold and items into their carries, and then look to fight in probably the next minute 20 when this next dragon does spawn, because it'll put either team onto that soul point. And it is the Hextech Soul. It is not the Cloud Soul. Ignore the Riot Games bug.
Yeah, and this Hextech Soul is going to be so strong for really either of these two teams. They both have such easy ways of applying it. Even Mustard with the Ricochet, the Boomerang Blade, obviously NBK, Hextech, Ray. CaliG not quite as much, maybe a little bit with the Chain Lash, but On the other end, you have the spray and pray auto attacks. You have all of Lux's kit really coming out from Crash. So it could be a very solid way to set up fights, to peel back. It's just such a useful tool, having that little bit of damage and especially that massive slow that comes out from the procs. But now it is going to be spawning in about 30 seconds, but the vision game currently being won by Dorado. Gremlin able to get wards all down that line in their bot side jungle. Now Crash again going to be able to land a little bit of poke, but on a Hulzer it's not going to amount to too much. Overall we'll be able to heal some of it back, and it gets shielded a bit. Is now Hulzer going to be coming in for the play, but the Ishtal's impact not able to land in the TP in the backline. Ace is going to be immediately set up and actually looking for NBK, but flashed out, and now the assault force in the backline. Crash is still trying to fight. Final Spark will take down Cali G. Hulzer now could be the next target, as NBK is getting hit by the spray and pray. A couple more autos, but it's currently in the gravity field. Instead it's going to be Hulzer getting taken down. Ace is going to try to run away, and with a prismatic barrier will survive. It's a 2-0 in favor of OverSoul. Now they could be the ones to take the dragon, but the health bars are low. Shield bolt coming in. NBK super low, but the shield's coming through. Instead it's going to be on to Mustard, and Mustard still survives. Deathmaster will go down to the Hextech Drake. HP bars low on both sides as Mystic trying to find a flank. All the carries are very low. Mystic can get in the right position at the right time, and the pink ward is there to scout out Mystic. The final spark not going to be able to land. So overall it's a tie trade, and I'm guessing both sides are going to reset, and we're going to get to do this right again.
Yeah, but now the big thing is Mystic has no summoner spells for this next team fight. Had to burn both of them just to get away from Cali G. Cali, I don't think had the opportunity to use the arm guard either, so just has the full Zonias now. I think he did just get bursted down before there was an opportunity to actually press it. But even though Mystic didn't get to kind of just free fire in that team fight, it was still extremely close on both sides because of the rotations that come down from Crash. They do a significant amount of damage right now.
Yeah, but one-shotting Gremlin. It is going to be the dragon going over to Dorado. Both Gremlin off the map, NBK super low. We are seeing the pings coming out right now, and OverSoul, they could just look to take the Baron instead. And with the Grand Stoffel, they're just going to full commit onto this.
Yeah, and I think there's almost no chance for Dorado to get over here to contest it.
TP coming in.
TPing right now. We can see Mustard is running up through the lane. NBK's here. Hulzer is over the wall. It's at 5k. There's an opportunity for the steal.
Yeah, it's going to be the 50-50. The light binding isn't going to be able to land, but the assault force in the backline, it is going to be going down to OverSoul. But what about the fight afterwards? Right now, Deathmaster getting absolutely focused down, trying to buy some time, but will still be going down in the end. But in the meanwhile, Mystic deletes Mustard. Now they can fight. Assault force has been stolen, and they are going to dive onto Mystic. Mystic still alive, but with the impale, will get taken down by NBK. The rest of the team trying to get away. Crash is going to get hit by the chains, trying to buy a little bit of time. The Ultra Mega Fire Kick will push Cali G off, but Crash still super low, still getting shielded, still getting healed, and Crash needs to get away, dodges a Hextech Ray, but will get finished off. One final auto from NBK. They do get the Baron, but they lose 3 in the process.
Yeah, what a crazy fight out of both sides. I think Mystic going to the back to get the kill on Mustard might have been a mistake. If he was there with Deathmaster and A's in the pit, that might have been a different situation for OverSoul, but they go to kill the AD carry instead, forgetting how much damage NBK and Cali G actually do, and Mystic still ends up falling in the end because the unstoppable force was stolen away. Cali G's able to get on top of Mystic, and then the Gremlin might just be dead. Never mind.
Yeah, just gonna flash over the wall.
Yeah, and Wild Growth as well, another key ultimate not going to be available for the next couple of minutes, and that can make it a little bit more difficult for Gremlin here to clear vision. Just going to be able to escape from that one. But, I mean, I see the idea of killing Mustard at the start of the fight, but I just think if Mystic is with his front line, with Deathmaster and with A's, that is just a completely different fight for OverSoul. Like you said, they get the Baron, but they lose crucial members who had it on them in that team fight. And now the question is, are they going to be able to actually do anything with this Baron? Or is it kind of just now another stall tactic for this Soul that would be Dorado's if they're able to pick it up in the next 2 minutes, 30 seconds?
I mean, we're gonna have to see, but one other thing I want to mention is the goal lead still pretty much non-existent for either of these two teams, because again, the Otacon did go down as Crash, could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Final spark over top, not going to be enough to get a kill back on the Gremlin as NBK 6-1-7 on this victor. Now this is a very, very scary mid laner from Dorado.
Yeah, and like I said, getting kills early onto Victor is important. He's at 3 items right now after, you know, he's on parity with Lux, but Lux's items are significantly cheaper than the Roa and the Leandries. So having item parity at this point in the game is massive for NBK, who is dealing so much damage in these team fights. He is not somebody you can forget about on the side of OverSoul. Like, yes, Mustard's going to do a lot, but NBK does just as much in these team fights with the rotation of spells and the point in the game he is at. So Dorado's looking good. It's just a question of how much can Mystic do at this next Dragon fight.
Yeah, and it really is on Mystic right now for OverSoul, though I will say with the Abyssal Mask on Ace, if they have a wombo combo opportunity for Crash, they can absolutely delete some of these members. NBK, Mustard, Gremlin, I think all 3 will take most of their health, and we even saw it in the previous Dragon fight. Cali G got absolutely deleted from that combo, but it's going to be scary for them. Because if Mystic gets jumped on, if the unstoppable force from Cali G, the stolen one, is able to land onto this Twitch, I think Mystic just dies. But for this next Dragon fight, 50 seconds away, Mystic does have the flash, so that's going to create a lot of possible space for the AD carry.
Yeah, and a big thing that we haven't touched on yet is that Cali G is level 17, so he has access to multiple ultimates in like these longer extended team fights that can come out. So that's something that you do have to keep an eye on. They know where he is right now. The idea would be to keep A's away from him as long as possible so he cannot steal away that ultimate.
Yeah, and right now they're just trying to match onto Cali G, trying to prevent Cali G from having an easy entrance into this fight. We even see Deathmaster just completely zoning away, as now we have Luton Binding landing on it too, but they're not going to follow up with the final spark yet. Just holding on to it for now. Unstoppable Force has now been stolen. Cali G currently holding on to that Malphite ultimate. And the question is, can they use it? Where are they going to use it? Because there is a timer on it. Once you have the hijack going, you have to try and find an area. Gremlin will be forced to use the wild growth and still very low HP. And final spark, very short cooldown as shield wall coming out, only hitting onto NBK. And again, the light binding is going to land. Loosen Singularity not going to be able to follow up, as now Cali G getting poked down a little bit. Light binding not going to land over top, and this is just poke wars going down back and forth, but slow poke favors OverSoul right now, as neither side really able to get the full engage yet.
Yeah, and I also really do like how Mystic has been playing this. He's been just trying to stay as far away from possible until they know exactly where Cali G is. He hasn't wasted any time like just trying to open fire and then get CC'd down, but oh, never mind, nothing gonna break out yet. But Gremlin not having access to that ultimate is massive, as the fight is starting to look like it's happening. Yeah, the Impale coming out from Huzzard's not gonna land, and that's another major cooldown burn on the side of Dorado. Gremlin actually healed back up almost to 50% from everything that's been going on. The poke battle still going back and forth, but the cozy campfire exists for OverSoul. They have the Lux poke as well as Mystic actually going forward into Cali G, will flash it out, baiting out the unstoppable force that will give them the kill, and that should be able to give them the dragon as well, but I don't know if it's worth it for the flash. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it because you guys were already playing it so well of stalling it out until that was not available anymore, but then they see the opportunity to go for it. I still think the way that OverSoul was playing it, they could have just waited for it to fall off and or force Cali to use it on a target that he didn't want to, but they saw the opportunity. I guess it's a decent idea, but I think the using of the flash at Mystic is so crucial. Oh wait, they're gonna start a Baron here on the side of OverSoul, and with no Cali G, it's pretty massive.
Yeah, and I think that is the plan right now. They're not going to be worried too much about the flash because they're just going to take every objective off the map so they don't need to fight now. NBK taking a decent amount of poke here from Crash over the wall, and Crash just preventing them from walking in, and NBK will dodge the light binding for now. The Baron is going to be going over as the Ishtal's impact does land onto Ace. Assault Force is back up, but will be used defensively instead. Now light binding will land. No follow-up yet. Arcane Storm in the back line, but Ultra Mega Fire Kick is going to push them away. Kali G is now going to be here. Flash over the wall, and Goofy SCP will be going down. Impales there as well, as again the poke is landing, and this time around they get the Baron, but they only lose one member, and that's just the support.
Yeah, and you were fine with that as OverSoul. I think Goofy, oh wait, never mind, Mystic.
Yeah, Mystic is just gonna be taking down Mustard, and that is gonna be the spray and pray and ghost use. But again, when it's 4v5, they have the Baron buff. They can just kind of start pushing through these side lanes. There's still a tier 1 available in the top lane, and the gold is now completely even for both these two teams.
Yeah, and no one has claimed this Hextech soul yet, so we are gonna be strapped in this game for a little while longer. At least I would say another 3 minutes until that soul does come up and these teams want to fight over it. I don't see OverSoul pushing too far to try to force an end with this Baron buff. But the way that they played that Baron was very smart. They already had Kali G taken off the map. So they're like, hey, we can force this. They don't have that threat onto Mystic anymore. And Crash and Ace did such a good job.
Yeah, and now they're just gonna burst him. Kali G trying to fight with Ace, but there's the Grand Starfall. There's the Unstoppable Force as the final spark. Kali G, you're all alone. You gotta relax.
I said they might not end with this Baron, but there could be an opportunity to do it with Kali G being down now. But I said I love Malphite, and this is why it doesn't matter that he was losing to Kali G in the laning phase. He did his job. He got his comeuppance, and now it looks like OverSoul are going to start to look to crack open the base of Dorado Gaming here in game number 3.
Yeah, and again, without Kali G, their engage becomes so much harder. Now, Halzer, at the very least, is going to be able to use that. Ishtal's impact will pull some of them back and Welcome back to the Aegis Executioners League Grand Finals, and we are on match point now. Game 4, OverSoul Scream at 2, Dorado Gaming Iota at 1, and Dorado going to be staying on the red side, OverSoul going to be staying on the blue side. It's Game 4 draft, and Chong, Selmo, what do you expect to come out here?
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but like more of the same out of OverSoul. I also do think Dorado had a really good draft in this game. I just think it came down to 2 team fights that determined who won that game number 3. I could have gone either way at that point in the game. It was just OverSoul found the better picks and the better opportunities to push the small advantage that they had to lead it into an end game. So I kind of expect both teams to go for similar drafts. I liked both Mystic and Mustard on these hyper carries. So like I want to see Zeri, I want to see Jinx, I want to see Vayne, I want to see Kog'Maw, I want to see stuff like this. But like that's when you start falling into like the secondary enchanters that not a lot of people play. That's where you start getting like Soraka, Sona, Nami, even like Renata that like not a lot of people like put to this high tier. I think Renata is sneakily good, and not enough people actually play this champion. I think it would work wonders in a lot of the way these team fights have been playing, but it's just a question of what do teams want to start prioritizing here, because Dorado's looking to send us to another game 5 here and hopefully win that championship, while OverSoul is looking to shut the doors out of that Cinderella story that is this Dorado Gaming Iota roster that ended the regular season. We touched on it a bit. They were only 4-3, I believe, or something like that coming out of the regular season. I don't think we played that many games. I think they were 3-2. I think I lied to everybody. But like they like barely made it into playoffs, and they've been on this rampant run since getting into this where they want to get that win. They want that like Cinderella storyline where nobody believed in them, everybody counted them out, everybody doubted them, except for Zol. You're over in Twitch chat. I know you always believed in you boys, but I would love to see them be able to push that to the game 5 and potentially get this win. But OverSoul, they looked really good at moments in that game and also really bad, but that was the same as Dorado. So it really comes down to execution in these late game team fights for both sides.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of individual play really starting to come through from OverSoul, especially coming out from Mystic. I think Mystic just definitely was the carry in that game. Obviously, the final pick onto the Silas, onto Kali G, was a team effort. Obviously, Ace was the one that kind of found Kali G alone, kind of baited Kali G into overcommitting just a bit more, but then you still needed Crash to come through with the final spark. You still needed Jungler to just come in, get that Grand Starfall over top, just make sure they have that kill. And once Kali G was gone, then the game kind of blew wide open. And then even in fights before that, Mystic just able to get those pickoffs, kept taking out Mustard, kept taking out Gremlin before the main team fights began. And then especially on that dragon fight, which I called it out as a mistake, but that ended up being just absolute genius. Baiting out the unstoppable force from Kali G, securing them the dragon, then the Baron, and everything basically came off of that one play. So they're definitely feeling themselves right now and having that confidence, especially into a match point where they can freely lose this game and still have a chance at the championship, while Dorado is like, it's do or die for them right now. And that's going to change the mental state of both of these two teams. So I think OverSoul, if they're able to ride this momentum, they could look really strong in this 4th game.
Yeah, I'm also really curious what this B1 is going to be, because they seem to not want to prioritize Xin Zhao, who I think is the best jungler in the game right now. Like, no shadow of a doubt, I think he does everything you want in the jungle role in the current state of League of Legends, but not wanting to go for that as your B1. So they continue to ban that. Obviously, you always ban Diego against Holzer. I think he's got like 1,600 games on it or something ridiculous at this point. I have no idea, but not going to play that. And then they ban the Jinx away. So not wanting to first pick that. And I say 80 carry counter pick is the fakest counter pick in League of Legends until you pick the Twitch into Sivir, and it works out wonderfully. But we're going to see that first pick 80 carry here. Corki is still really strong currently in League of Legends. He's a really strong level 1, really strong late game. He does exactly what you expect this champion to do, since we've seen it all the way back in like the mid lane of Corki's year, every single matchup, every single game. But now he's just an 80 carry and does exactly the same thing as he did in mid lane. But now the question is, what is Dorado going to do? Do they have a fringe pick that's going to... Okay, I love the Ziggs. I'm so happy we're getting Ziggs. I think this champion is really, really strong right now. He can be played in mid and AD carry. He's basically the same as Corki, who can play in mid and AD carry. They both do exactly the same thing in two different positions. It just depends on what matchup you want. But I do think Ziggs is really strong, helps, gives you good strong poke damage, helps with siege really easily with that satchel charge. But then the Amumu pick here. Okay, so we're just having Yordle Mayhem on the Rift. I want to see 10 Yordles hit this Rift in this game. Give me Rumble, give me Heimerdinger, give me all of them. But I think Amumu is really good, gives you the engage you want, gives you the front line you want, like that pick from Dorado Gaming.
Yeah, Kennen support. I mean, that's a name we haven't heard in forever. On any position, really. Kennen, I forgot Kennen was in this game until I made that
champion.
Joke.
Love that champion.
But, I mean, this is a very solid duo pair because with the passive coming out from Amumu, it is going to be that magic resist shred. So when you pair the Mega Inferno Bomb over top, and again, it was changed. So that outer ring does a little bit less damage, but that center ring does more damage. And if you have Curse of the Sad Mummy, you're going to hit that center ring and you're just going to absolutely blow up whoever's going to be in it. Now we are going to be seeing the Nocturne locked in for OverSoul Scream. So again, another playmaking jungler, except this time does need level 6 and the Seraphine. So I'm assuming this is Seraphine's support that's going to be coming through, and the Encore should be able to help quite a bit. And if you're able to time it with a Paranoia, you can even kind of bounce it off the Nocturne to really reach that backline.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all the Yordles we wanted. There's no Nard, Kennen, Rumble, nothing like that. But like you said, Seraphine Nocturne is a very strong combo. Can follow up really well on the Nocturne dive into the backline. I like the Xayah pick into this because, like I said, Ziggs is flexible. You can put him in mid or AD carry. Xayah is a really good answer into the dive that is already being shown by OverSoul because Nocturne's going to try to jump in on you. Guess what? You just Featherstorm it, and you're fine for one ultimate, but I'm pretty sure Nocturne's becomes like a 30-second cooldown with his current build, and then you kind of fried the second one. But I think Xayah is still a really good answer to this. It also is one of those more hyper-scaling oriented AD carries, not the traditional one that we think, because of her shorter range, can make it a little bit more difficult in team fights, but does scale extremely well and can put out so much damage, especially if you are really good with that feather placement and use of it.
Yeah, and it's going to make it hard to find a good target right now, as we are just refreshing Chong's camera. Not really sure what's going on there, but it's going to be... You're back, that's what matters. But like I was saying, it's going to be hard for the Nocturne. Yeah, it's going to be hard for the Nocturne to get onto the backline, just because, again, the Featherstorm coming out from Xayah, that's going to be really good defense mechanism. And then the Explosive Satchel coming out from the Ziggs. There's so many different ways to kind of create distance from this Paranoia. And that's not even counting the fact that, again, you still have the Amumu. You're still going to have that stun. You're going to have the Bandage Toss. You're going to have the Curse of the Sad Mummy. There's so many tools to deal with it. So right now, I think this could be a very difficult game in terms of a dive Nocturne. But the Paranoia on its own is a very strong tool. Even if you're not going to be using it to be the main start to a fight, if you use it kind of as a pseudo follow-up where you pop the Paranoia, throw the Encore, and then jump in, then there's going to be some angles that they can play around. But definitely going to have to be a little bit smart around how you want to play this Nocturne.
Yeah, I was also going to say was curious if OverSoul was going to ban away the Rakan to not give them that Lover Duos bot lane, but they went for the Ornn and the Gwen ban, and I think that is really smart, and we're not even going to get the Rakan, we're just going to get the Rel coming out here to help with that Amumu engage as a good follow-up. I think Rakan does effectively the same thing as Rel, and I'll say effectively, because he is a lot squishier, and it is a higher mechanical support than most, which is really weird to say in the support role. But to get like full effectiveness out of Rakan's kit, you have to know your limitations so well, which can make it very hard to play the champion at times. So I think the Rel is just the safer pick to combo up with the combo. Yeah, so Galio taken away from NBK here because the Ziggs was already picked, but that means if we do go to that game 5, it's not going to be available, and something OverSoul needed. Frontline. You got Mundo, you got Galio, you got Buko's frontline now on the side of OverSoul with those two champions. Now the question really becomes, is Xayah going to get to a point where she's actually able to shred through these tanks? Or is it going to be a mute point and they're just going to be able to do what they want in these team fights? But Nocturne Galio, a super strong combo. Nocturne flies in them with Paranoia. Guess what's over top? Hero's Entrance. Guess what follows that up? Encore. There's nothing you can do about that. It becomes so disruptive in these team fights, especially when the lights are turned down. That is a strong combo to have on the side of OverSoul. But Mordekaiser can make that a little bit easier. Just rip one of them away that's on top of your carries and try to just 1v1 them down. So definitely interesting drafts here on both sides. I think the tougher one is going to be on the side of Dorado Gaming, but I think both of them are fairly easy to pilot comps. They have clear identities on both sides.
Yeah, and one big thing though is it is a little bit of that wombo combo coming out from OverSoul. And the issue with wombo combos is if the initial engage isn't good, your entire team comp falls apart. So it's really important for Deathmaster Pones and Crash to make it work together. They have to catch at least 2 people, and one of them has to be NBK and Mustard. So gonna be a little bit of a high level of execution needed from OverSoul, whereas on the side of Dorado Gaming, NBK gonna be able to have a lot of poke over top, and the combo with Hulzer with this Amumu is gonna be really scary. But it does sound like we are ready to head into game number 4 between OverSoul Esports Scream and Dorado Gaming Iota. This could be it. OverSoul, they're on match point. They win this, they win the entire league. So let's see if they're able to do it, or if Dorado are going to be able to bring it back.
Yeah, and something very interesting in this game is that Mustard has gone for the Ghost and hasn't taken Cleanse, so can be very dangerous in these team fights with that shorter range 80 carry if you do get caught out, while Mystic has gone for the Cleanse. Very smart decision by them. I am skeptical on the Mustard choice, but we'll have to see if they're able to make it work in this game, as just a little bit of emoting back and forth in the mid lane between Hulzer and Deathmaster Pones. But nothing gonna really be happening. I changed my mind.
Yeah, beat drop is gonna get used. It's only gonna be able to get the slow, not the root. So they're gonna get a decent amount of poke down onto Hulzer, but realistically, Hulzer should be able to just recall and get back without losing any time at all. But it could give an opportunity to get a little bit of extra vision as the beat drop is going to land. Okay, so that second recall cancel, that might make a little bit of a difference. And because of that, Hulzer actually going to elect to stay. Now, obviously, junglers will be able to heal back up just off of the camps with the pets and the smites and all that nonsense, but still going to be starting lower HP, and that could give an opportunity for Deathmaster Pones to maybe look for an invade.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they're not just brute forcing their way to start on these Raptors on the side of OverSoul. With Deathmaster Pones can clear these very well because of that Umbral Blade passive, and also just gets so much more damage from that Q as well. But just going to start on their own side of the jungle. They just know where this Amumu is going to be starting, so going to be some easy tracking for them in this early game. And Nocturne and kind of Amumu both want to farm up to 6, while Amumu does have easier gank setup with those double bandage toss, but the Nocturne really wants to hit that level 6 before he's looking for any action at all in this game.
Yeah, and that's really going to be the main issue, because Hulzer, despite the start taking a little bit of poke, can definitely start plays using just the bandage toss. So we'll be able to come online and start ganking earlier on. Obviously, you're going to have the unspeakable horror. You're going to have that fear coming out from Deathmaster Pones as well. But it takes so much longer for it to come online. So unless there's a really good gank angle, it's unlikely that we'll see Deathmaster Pones try some kind of an aggressive play.
Yeah, and right now you're just seeing Crash take a lot of damage from NBK, which is expected in this lane. It is the ranged into melee matchup. But once Crash does hit that level 3 and gets access to that magic shield, the magic damage shield from that Shield of Duran, it's going to look good, but actually might be in trouble before that.
The Hulks are going to be flashing in. Will tank the Justice Punch, but Crash should still have nowhere to go. Shield of Duran not going to buy enough space, and it's going to be first blood going over to NBK.
Yeah, and that was a really good play by Hulzer there. Amumu not known for that level 3 gank really, but hits the flash bandage toss and is able to get in front of the Justice Punch. Crash tried to flash away and create space, but Amumu with a change a while back gets 2 uses of that bandage toss. But now Aegis could actually be in trouble here.
Aegis starting to get run down, but it's in the meanwhile, Shield of Durand also going to be landing onto NBK, but concussion or satchel charge is going to let NBK get back out to safety. So it's really just gonna depend on what they can do in the top lane. Sorry, that's what you were talking about. But right now, Ace is still trying to farm. Is definitely behind. Was definitely getting run down a little bit by Kali G. But Dr. Mundo is very, very weak in lane. Most of that damage scales off of current HP. So you get poked down early. All your abilities cost HP. You don't have the natural regen yet. So you're just slowly but surely getting bullied out of lane. But eventually the Mundo will be able to take over this lane will be able to take over the game, and it's really just going to depend on can they get a big enough lead on the side of Dorado to kind of prevent this Mundo from doing that.
I'm also a little surprised that Cali G went for the Mordekaiser in this matchup.
Oh, another crash down over into the bot lane. The heal is going to be used, and now the Shattering Strike as well lands on a Silly Goofy, and then Gremlin and Mustard, they're still trying to run down Flash. Going to be burned from Silly Goofy, and now Mystic trying to auto back, and Gremlin gets taken down low, but no kill coming through. It's just going to be the Ignite from Gremlin for the Flash heal of Silly Goofy.
Yeah, and I mean, Silly had to do that, otherwise they would have fallen down there for first blood. I liked that look there out of Gremlin and Mustard, looking really good in this 2v2 in the early game. But like I was saying before that play broke out, I'm kind of surprised that Cali G went for this Mordekaiser pick, just because Mundo is known for being the tank you pick against a lot of magic damage, while like Malphite is the opposite. You pick it with a lot of AD damage. But I mean, there's the opportunity where like A's won't matter in this game, because if he builds so much MR that Mustard's just able to cut through him, it becomes a little bit difficult. But Cali G, despite winning the early trades, if A's is just able to get the 2 items, this Mundo is gonna be free living. It's kind of the point you need as Mundo. You just pray that your team gets to 2 items, like your team stalls enough for you to get to 2 items, and then you can just start to take over a game. But right now, we're pretty even across the board, despite that first blood that came out in the mid lane by a nice gank by Holzer. But the question is if there's going to be any punish now in this bot lane onto Silly Goofy, who has no summoners, as Mystic takes a little bit of damage there for Mustard with a nice Blade Caller to get the root, but not really going to matter all that much right now at the current state of the game. It's just going to be Dragon spawning on the Rift, but I don't think any team is going to be looking to take that one right now. Kind of want to get lanes in a good spot, get your junglers through those second clears before you start looking at that Dragon as an opportunity.
And Cali G in a very good spot in this top lane, already 60s up, has that wave frozen underneath the turret, or I should say right next to the turret, which is the single best spot for it. So right now, A's just trying to farm up a little bit with those briefcases. As we were talking about the Dragon, and it's both of these junglers do want level 6 before they fight, though. Having said that, Holzer already going to start pulling it, and level 6 is available on to Crash. Now the beat drop is going to land, and actually Hero's entrance is going to be there. They're going to be able to find Gremlin, and now with the taunt, they almost have enough damage, and Gremlin is going to be the first to go out. But now instead, Deathmaster Pones 2 going to be followed up, and the Bandage Toss does land, and Mystic forced to flash and Valkyrie away. It is going to be the 1-for-1, but the HP bar is favoring Dorado, means they should be able to secure this Dragon.
Yeah, and that was just a nice start of the play. I mean, they almost didn't have the ideal start because of that heroic entrance coming out from Crash, but only losing Gremlin in that play is good, especially because you trade 1-for-1 and it's support for enemy jungler. That means you're able to pick up this Dragon. Yes, Mustard didn't get the kill, which would have been ideal for the side of Dorado, but even still, she has a CS lead and has that gold from that assist, but so does Mystic. So just the CS lead is really going to be the advantage there for Mustard right now. But once again, there's no flashes in the spot lane and no cleanse on Mystic, and you have an Amu as your jungler. So I expect very soon to start seeing Holzer clear this top side and potentially look to path back down after these Void Grubs that could be a skirmish, as Deathmaster has hit level 6 now. Holzer a little bit behind in XP and clear, just because Deathmaster has been forcing camps down a lot faster, while Holzer has made a couple of stops for ganks. But once Amumu hits 6, this Grubs is going to be a big fight for both sides. We see both supports already up here on the top half of the map.
And both of these two junglers, they also take those grubs super fast. The Paranoia actually going to be coming in. Double beat drop as well. Crystal Sat Mummy has already been used. And Holzer trying to get away, will get taken down by Crash. And now it's just going to be Gremlin all alone. No flash available. So that's going to be a kill going over to Silly Goofy. And now Cali G is alone here, but does have the level 6. So with the Realm of Death, not necessarily in too much threat here. But Ace dealing so much damage. And now with the Justice Punch as well. Now the Fear Beyond Death is going to be used here, looking towards, and Cali G is alive, but not for long. Will get taken down. And now Ace trying to run down NBK. This isn't this Hyper Lake in Mundo, but NBK still taking a lot of damage. Will be forced to flash, but the flash to fall. One more briefcase will be dodged out, and NBK gets to live another day.
Yeah, well, Deathmaster Pone's first use of that paranoia is a success and actually lives through all of that somehow, despite being incredibly low. Also, Cali G, I felt held on to that ultimate for just a bit too long. What ended up trading 1-for-1 with Crash, but I think if you use it earlier, there's an opportunity to actually create more mayhem and get more of an advantage for yourself as this Mordekaiser, because you got so low when you did pop that. Once you came out of that, you had nothing left in the tank to fight with, and now Deathmaster Pone sitting at 2-1-2 on this Nocturne, 100% kill participation, along with Crash and Silly Goofy. So, I mean, Deathmaster Pones, we've seen Nocturnes take over games before and just delete members. So gonna have to be looking to do that one with the early advantage that they already have accrued for themselves. And it looks like Silly Goofy is going for the more AP build, probably building into that Rylai's first item to be able to get the stun without having that double beat drop.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be useful for the team. Just a little bit of extra CC that they're able to land at least a little bit easier. But either way, it's not a bad support to get kills on if you're gonna have to get kills, as now the paranoia is coming through into the mid lane, and Hero's entrance over top not going to be enough. They are gonna force a little bit of space and a lot of HP off of NBK, but that's really all the advantage that they're going to be able to get here.
Yeah, it was a nice satchel charge placement there by NBK to get out of the heroic entrance, because if they didn't, they probably would have fallen down because they had no flash since Aegis had burned that around that grub fight. But luckily he's able to survive despite the combo coming out. The combo isn't as strong when you're using the ultimate in the front face of them. It's more like off-screen paranoia comes and then the ultimate follows it. Makes it a little bit more difficult to play around sometimes, but luckily NBK and Holes are both able to escape that play. Nothing comes out of it. It's just going to be, like you said, the HP, but overall it's not going to matter because NBK can just sit so far away and clear these waves, as the next play won't be happening for about 1:10 when that second dragon does spawn, as both teams are just going to be fine with farming up right now. Going to want to look to get resets in about the next 10 seconds to be able to be in a good position for this dragon fight that's coming up.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's not a bad idea to just kind of use that paranoia heroes entrance combo, because there's no objective on the map. So you may as well just use it. It's going to be back up in time for that dragon fight. You either find a kill, give yourself a little bit of an advantage with it, or you don't, and you don't really lose anything for the attempt. So I do like that Crash and Deathmaster Pones are kind of using those cooldowns a little bit liberally right now, kind of like I said they were in game number 1 with that Xerath. So yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from OverSoul, but the game right now, dead even. And it is very, very close, but in very different locations, because we are starting to see a 10 CS difference opening up in the mid lane. But over in the jungle, Deathmaster Pones 2-1-2, up about 3 camps, maybe even 4 at this point. So this Nocturne is really strong, and that is going to be able to threaten the backline just a little bit more than anyone on the side of Dorado.
Yeah, but right now, river control is in favor of Dorado. You can see that OVS is a little bit trepidatious about walking into this area right now. Just not sure where everybody is from the potential CC combo that could come out from the Dorado Gaming Iota comp. But they're walking all the way down to their bot lane to link up with Mystic to be able to walk in as a unit. But that's also dropping mid lane power right now to NBK, which can be a big deal. But NBK is not willing to stay for too long, wants to be here to help with this dragon fight that is starting to brew. As the dragon was pulled by the side of OverSoul, it's going to reset right now. But right now, you can see Crash is looking for a flank angle.
Yeah, and right now they are kind of even out in terms of that priorities. Now Crash going to be flashing in, going to be able to get the stun, and the Encore over top, paranoia in the backline. Hero's entrance not going to be able to come out as Crash is still stunned, and it's a 1-for-0 so far. Hulzer still trying to play in the backline as Deathmaster Pone's still fighting with Gremlin. Gremlin going to be able to take down Crash. Mystic will land the missile barrage over the wall, and now it's just Mustard. Hulzer's in the area as well. Will get stunned up, and now it's Mystic 1v2. So it's so far 3-for-1 as now Mustard will get burst down, and it's Hulzer versus Mystic 1v1. Who's going to be stronger? Mystic has the Conquerors going, but Hulzer is going to be the stronger DPS out of the two, and it's going to be a 4-for-3 in favor of Dorado Gaming, but the Dragon is still going to be available.
Yeah, Mystic might have had that Conqueror stacked, but so did Holzer. And it was a great start to the fight there by OVS. Crash got the flash taunt onto NBK, and then the Encore hit over 4 members, but crucially, Mustard did not fall down in that initial burst and was able to kite back and create a lot of space and a lot of damage on the backside.
Oh, but now the crash down going to be landing onto Silly Goofy, but Shield of Durand going to be able to buy a little bit of space, and now Justice Punch onto NBK. Deathmaster Bones is going to be there, and NBK forced to flash out, had to use that Satchel Shard for the aggressive play, not going to have it up for the defense. And with the current setup, it looks like they might even be willing to give up this dragon on the side of Oversoul, as they're just going to invade the top side instead.
Yeah, and because Cali G TP down here, that means A's has free time up in this top lane. Might be able to even pick up the first turret at this point in the game once that second wave does come in. Because of where the side of Oversoul is, they're not going to give Cali G an easy time up to this top lane.
No, there is a bit of a fight, but the Realm of Death is still available, and Mega Fire Inferno Bomb is going to be there, and actually it's going to get stolen. Cali G able to get the red buff and able to get the solo kill as well. Everything going up Dorado now, and continuing that trend. Mystic going to be targeted in the bot lane, will get slowed, will get stunned, and Hulls are going to be on the killing spree. 4-1-3 on this Amumu, and all of a sudden Dorado, they have a 1.5k gold lead.
Yeah, they lost first turret, but they pick up the dragon, and then a crucial kill onto Mystic down in that bot lane, who was overstaying just a little bit, knowing that the side of Dorado was down there, and now they're going to be able to answer with a turret of their own. But also Cali G, smart timing of that flash, use of that death realm right before that shield came out from Deathmaster Pones, was able to pick up that kill on the backside. But right now, this game is still incredibly close. Despite Dorado Gaming having that 2k gold lead at this point, the side of OVS can still come back in this game. They just need to slow it down ever so slightly and get themselves back into a good situation. And something I wanted to talk about, which
are going paranoia as well onto Cali G. There is no Realm of Death. The Fear's going to be there. Hero's entrance as well, and the kill is going to be going over to Crash. And because of that, they're going to be able to take the Herald. And it's important to note, when they got the first turret, they also got the feat. So OverSoul not as behind as they may look.
Yeah, and something I wanted to touch on right before that play broke out is the build coming out here from Crash. It is not the typical tanky build that we see coming out from Galio. Has actually elected to go for that Proto Belt as the first item. As I'll hold that thought again. As
is going to be coming in. Ace is in the middle of the team. They're going to be looking towards Hulzer, and Hulzer still alive, but Ace will be able to finish off that kill. Encore has already been used. Not going to be able to follow that as the Mega Inferno Bomb burning down Deathmasters. The main jungler is just going to be taken down so low. Will they be able to heal back up off of this turret? Will they be able to secure it? And it looks like they will be able to, just getting a little bit from that lifesteal, a little bit of help from Silly Comfy as well with the heal, with the extra shielding. So it is going to be the Rift Herald as well going over to Oversoul.
Yeah, and I mean, OverSoul has been playing these team fights out very well. And not to say Dorado hasn't been either, but it just feels like OverSoul has been the ones pulling the trigger more often than not. We saw it there once again, that Deathmaster goes in. It's followed up by Silly Goofy with that Encore. It makes it very difficult for the side of Dorado to play the game, because Holzer did get the Curse of the Sad Mummy off, but it only hit onto Deathmaster, who I believe did spell shield it, and then was able to just be able to eliminate the enemy jungler before the objective. Deathmaster once again almost falls down to NBK's Mega Inferno Bomb. So potentially, if there's more damage coming out from NBK, Deathmaster doesn't get to live in those plays, and then becomes more of a flip for the objective, or just a full reset by both sides. But like I said, this game is incredibly close. Either side can win it at this point. It's only that now 700 gold lead for the side, maybe more. I'm not doing math on stream. Don't do that, Chong. But the side of Dorado can look to be more aggressive with their composition. They could look to get these engages before the side of Oversoul is in a good position to be able to counteract the play, or be the ones to make the proactive play. It kind of just feels like right now Dorado is playing like with one hand behind their back, trying to absorb the engage coming out from Oversoul, and then look to re-engage, which just hasn't been working. It worked in like the dragon fight, but didn't work right there at that Rift Herald fight, with the advantage in crucial positions for OVS's comp right now.
Yeah, but the real question is going to be, if Dorado's able to take this dragon, they're going to be on soul point, and this time it is going to be the Cloud Soul. And I think having that extra move speed is going to help them out so much. I mean, especially with the Feather Storm. Mustard's going to have a very easy time of just repositioning immediately upon calling that. And that'll be able to give them a lot of space. The Deathmaster opponents might have gotten caught out by Kali G, and now they are going to be turning it right back. They have the taunt for shield of Durant, the encore, the fear, and they're just going to burn everything to take down Kali G. And now the next fight could be continuing. Ace has the slow, and it's on to Mustard. That's the main target you want. Ace still walking forward, and now with the Feather Call, it's going to be in the backline now. The Hero's entrance over top. It's going to be the flash from Mustard. And Crystal's head might be on to 5 Mega Inferno Bomb. It looks good, but no one goes down. It's still going to be just at 2-0. It's now NBK getting run down a little bit by Ace, but again with the Satchel Charge going to be able to buy some more space. But this should be the Cloud Drake going down for OverSoul Scream, and that's going to be the first dragon of the game.
And once again, Deathmaster Pones lives in these team fights on such slim HP bars, and I think it's that healing that's been coming out from Silly Goofy has been so impactful. Mustard was so close to picking up a lot of kills in that team fight, but we saw because of Xayah's range and because of where they were positioned over that wall, it makes it so difficult to actually hit onto crucial members to be able to finish off those low HP targets. And they tried to burn through A's, but at this point, they're just not able to just quite yet. And maybe if NBK gets that second item, it's a different story in these team fights where that Mega Inferno Bomb does pick up all those kills on top of that Curse of the Sad Mummy that did look so good for the side of Dorado, but just not there with the damage at this point as OVS stops the dragon stacking that was coming out from Dorado and have taken a gold lead for themselves and looking good so far, but it's still anybody's game at this point. It is still up to the decision making and the playmaking that can come out from both sides here.
Yeah, but OverSoul will have that slight gold lead and will also have the feat. So again, getting a little bit more value out of that gold as well. But just looking over at the items, there's a lot of very big timings coming out of both these two teams. Mystic about to finish off that Muramana. Mustard on 2 full items right now. The Navoria Quick Blades and the Essence Raver. Now, Kali G, I think this is a very strong part of the team. That's why they were focusing on. But Bandage Toss coming out will get the soul as well. And now Hero's entrance as well. And they're just going to be looking to take down Halzer. And Halzer is going to be taken down quite low as Deathmaster Pones may have gone a little bit too far in the backline. Now Kali G able to pull back too. But now meanwhile in the backline, Ace is in the area and Mystic is DPSing. And now Shield of Durant crash buying a little bit of time. Still getting run down. Justice Punch as well. And will be able to take down Mustard as Gremlin. Also getting finished off in the backline. Now Kali G no longer in that realm of death. Will be able to take down the support, but we'll go down to the pros now. NBK super low. One more auto is needed, and they're able to get that, and it's a clean ace and a triple kill for Mystic right outside the Atacon.
Yeah, and Mystic picks up that triple kill even without the Muramana. A's actually did so much work on the backside of that team fight to create so much chaos that made it so difficult for the side of Dorado Gaming to walk to be able to assist anybody on their team. Also, Deathmaster getting caught out early. He almost was able to burst down Holzer with the assist of his team, but he uses that paranoia to go onto NBK, disconnects himself from everybody and falls down early in that fight, which means it looks like it's Dorado Gaming favored, but Crash going into the death realm, Kali G does a lot of damage. It still looks like Dorado Gaming has it, and then Mystic and A's do so much work in this team fight, pump out a lot of damage, and just basically remove Mustard and Gremlin from a possibility of joining that fight. And then once Kali G's in a bad spot, just not able to fight his way out at that point with how low he was from how much damage Crash does with this build and how much time he's able to stall. It just ended up turning OVS's way. They pick up the Otacon, and now they are firmly in the driver's seat. I would say if it was a larger gold lead, but we've seen what Dorado can do. If their things are just cleaned up a little bit and they're able to create the space that's needed, they can still turn this game around. It is still extremely close here in game 4.
Yeah, it's very close here, but we're even seeing Crash actually starting to do pretty well in this matchup. It's now a team fight starting to brew a little bit in that mid lane. Gremlin gonna be tethered with the fear, and now Chris the Sad Mammy leans on 2-3, and now Hero's entrance just to split that up. I think without that Hero's entrance, that could look really, really bad for the side of OverSoul Scream, but they will be able to get out safely, but they're gonna lose a lot of major cooldowns.
Yeah, and once again, somehow, Deathmaster Pones lives on such slim HP bars when you don't expect it. And that is also a big testament to the increased resistances that you get from that hero's entrance if you are the target of it. So just able to live just barely. Didn't even have Flash to be burned there, but a lot of key ultimates are gone now. No Mega Inferno Bomb, no Curse of the Sad Mummy, no I'm forgetting Rel ultimate name right now, but also that
Magnet Storm.
Magnet Storm. I was gonna say Magnetic Force, but no, that's not it. But also having no heroic entrance on the side of Crash can make it somewhat difficult for OVS's comp in the way they have been playing out these team fights. So it really comes down to priority around this dragon and how much poke can NBK and Mystic get out respectively to make it more difficult for the other side to start a team fight.
Yeah, but I think one major thing is it's kind of like the last time they did that play before the dragon. Heroic entrance will be back up in time for this dragon fight. It's not going to be up right at spawn, but it's going to be close enough that they can just kind of poke and prod away for a little bit and then look for the engage. So just using it pretty liberally before the fights, giving it time to reset is going to be a big part of the reason why OVS are looking so good right now. Just overall being able to get those little victories for themselves. But again, it's still only a 1.5k gold lead. OVS, they're definitely up, especially with the Otacon, and the feats is going to be even more effective gold. But Hero's Entrance still not up, but Kali G might be getting caught out a little bit. We'll get feared now. Realm of Death has been used, and it is going to be on a Deathmaster Poses now. Hulzer going in, looking for the bandage toss, but not the target you want. It's not going to be onto Ace and Hulzer. Trying to get again by Hero's Entrance onto the Encore. They're able to land it onto 3, but right now the Blade Caller so far has given 1 kill right back. Crash trying to get away, but we'll get taken down by the turret. And now in the backline, Ace is still there. Mystic is now going to be there. They're going to be able to take down everyone. It is a 5-for-2 and another pentakill for Mystic. Are you kidding me?
I did not expect a Mystic pentakill in this game, but the wombo combo reigns true. OverSoul wins the team fight. They don't even care about the dragon. Baron is their sight, and Mystic was untouched in that team fight. Rains down so much damage, and once again, Ace creates so much space, so much chaos, and such a hard target for the side of Dorado to rip through that it turns out favorable for the side of OverSoul. They're gonna be able to pick up this Baron and looking like they are ready to be the victors of Aegis Executioners League after that team fight.
Yeah, now the one little caveat is with that pentakill, with this Baron, they will be forced to give away this Cloud Drake. So Dorado Gaming, they are going to be on that Cloud Soul point. But this on its own will not give them soul. But it looks like they're not done. They want to contest it, but they don't have Hero's Entrance. They do have Paranoia if they want to go for the steal. But Deathmaster Pones is getting blocked off for now and will still be in the area. But the Dragon Soul has already gone down. Instead, they're just going to burn everything. And Mustard going to be able to take down this jungler and take out the Baron buff. And this will slow things down for OverSoul.
Yeah, it's going to slow it down a little bit. I don't know how much it will. I don't think this turret's going to fall down just because the wave clear that's available to both Silly, Goofy, and Mystic. And we see that it's not able to get anything because they had 3 minions at no HP. But anyway, hold that thought. Crash is TPing behind them.
Yeah, it is going to be the 4v4. Kali G still in the bot lane now. Hero's Entrance coming out over the top. They're still going to stay alive on the side of Silly Goofy, but do they have the damage over top? And so far, it seems like they do. Hulzer super low. Gremlin is super low. Do they have the damage to finish anyone off? Justice Punch in the back line. Crash able to get that kill. Silly Goofy still alive, still keeping the team alive. Kali G going to flash forward, but you're flashing to kill a support.
Yeah, I mean, Silly Goofy tried for the flash encore play and just completely whiffs it and lived in a situation I didn't expect them to until Kali G goes, hey, I'm just gonna flash death realm you and then go 1 for 1. But once again, Mystic is untouched in that team fight, is able to live forever and just put out so much damage. A's still not being able to be shredded down by Mustard at this point in the game. Doesn't even have a lot of armor to themselves. They just have that Age of the Legion and that Dorian shield to help with the auto attacks that are coming through from Mustard. So it's starting to look more and more difficult as what is your answer to A's here? What is going to be able to kill this unkillable Mundo so far in this game? And how do we stop Mystic? Because I don't think Mystic has burned Flash or Cleanse in the last 2 team fights, and Mystic is the carry right now for OverSoul. We already saw them pick up their 2nd penta of this series.
Yeah, but now Halzer walking forward will be able to land the bandage toss, and now the cleanse is going to be coming through. Same with the Valkyrie. Now over top, they're going to be looking towards Halzer, and Halzer is going to go down. Mystic able to dodge out on the Death's Grasp, but now the team fight Encore over top, only going to land onto one. It's going to be on a Gremlin. Gremlin going to be getting finished off. Mega Inferno Bomb not going to land on too many, and Deathmaster Pones will be going down. But Kali G has awakened from the death drum and will be going back to sleep, and it is a 3-for-1 again for OverSoul, just winning out on these fights.
Yeah, they still have Baron. They're going to just keep looking to push down these turrets, these objectives, and put more gold into their pocket. Once again, Mystic hasn't fallen down. Only used the cleanse and then also played it so well using that realm of movement speed buff from the Dragon Soul being the option in this game. Just kited out of everything Kali G was trying to do for that to them, and just able to put out enough damage to be impactful. Sitting at 4 items now, also with the fully upgraded Boots of Swiftness as well. I mean, Mystic is looking great in this game, looking great in the series, but so is the rest of OverSoul, backing him and A's up in this game. These two are throwing them on their backs, saying, don't worry guys, we got it, just make the chaos happen and we'll clean it up.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a very difficult game from here on out for Dorado, because at this point, Ace has scaled. That was a very terrifying point for this team for Dorado, because Xayah cannot handle the Dr. Mundo. Does have the Mortal Reminder, but like you said, there's no real armor being built on Ace. Just 25 armor from Unending Despair, and that is it. Everything else is just HP, and it's going to be that magic resist. But Paranoia has been used, but not going to be popping out that actual dash, so that's going to be a pretty major cooldown gone for this next dragon spawn. As Gremlin is going to get pulled back with the Shield of Duran, but with the crash down, not going to be in range for it.
Yeah, and I mean, right now, it's just going to be a fight over mid-wave priority. Obviously, OverSoul does not want to give this Cloud Soul over to the side of Dorado Gaming, so they're not going to just look to brute force their way into the base while they are taking it. They're going to have to look to fight it, but no pair. Oh, I'm gonna hold that thought. Kali G might be in trouble right now.
Ace is looking to trade onto Kali G, and winning that 1v1 is now Crash is gonna be here as well. Crash is okay fighting this 1v1 as well, just waiting for the cooldowns to be reset, and will win out on it as well. Now the dragon is gonna be spawning in 30 seconds, but without the top lane, without Kali G, it's gonna be difficult. Will be spawning 15 seconds after the dragon, but does have TP at the very least to get back sooner.
Yeah, but right now it is the river priority for the side of Dorado Gaming. They could look to make something happen before it, but right now OverSoul doesn't care. They're just going to catch a wave up high, push it in so that there is no response that can come out from Dorado, and they could even look to start cracking open the base at this point because the dragon spawns in 3 seconds. They don't need to force it down immediately, but they're going to. I think they could have looked to play around the base a little bit more and then fallen back when their HP bars got a little bit low, because in theory, it could have just been Halzer on the dragon, but Halzer doesn't really take dragon all that fast by himself, even with that double burn build in a way.
Yeah, but Ace is going to be in the top side, but one thing, Halzer is here and will try to steal it. Instead, we'll use Curse of the Sad Mummy and Flash over the wall. That's going to be Flash and Curse of the Sad Mummy, and no dragon steal to be found. This is actually a very strong point right now for OverSoul's Scream. They can definitely push in. The team fight is a lot less scary from Dorado. Now Ace 1v3 in the top side, but Mundo goes wherever he pleases, and now the hero's entrance in the back. They're going to be looking once again towards Kali G, and Kali G taking a lot of damage, and the Paranoia over top will find the kill. Gremlin going to be next. It's a 2-for-0. Halzer not a champion right now without that ultimate, and they can just continue pushing this in. This top tier 3, very low HP, will get finished off. Flash Encore will find its way onto 2, and that's going to be it. NBK's gone mustard, the last survivor, and Dorado Gaming, they're gonna be finished off. OverSoul Scream, they did it. They're gonna be able to take the inhibitor. They're gonna push into the base, and they are your Aegis Executioners League Grand Champions.
The Cinderella story ends here. OverSoul slams the doors shut after clean and decisive team fights throughout this game. They were the better team on the night. Mystic and A's, the monsters of this game for the side of OverSoul, and that is it. Congratulations, OverSoul Scream, your Aegis Executioner League champions.
I mean, they looked so good doing it. And I think that's the main thing, right? Because not only were they able to win out on a lot of these games, obviously Dorado looked really strong in, I believe that was game number 2. But OverSoul, outside of that, has been able to just build a little league and just continue pushing through it. They never let Dorado back in. And as soon as they get something, anything at all, they're able to just cling on to it and take it all the way 3-1. And again, Dorado's been looking so much stronger with every passing week, but it doesn't matter. OverSoul, not only were they stronger on the day, I think they were stronger on the entire season.
Yeah, and I mean, they played incredibly well in this last game and in game number 1 as well. And not the last game, game 3 was incredibly close until they were able to turn it around and get 2 clutch team fights to clean it up and secure the win. OverSoul looked great. There were moments for Dorado, but they just were not able to grasp the leads that they were growing for themselves to be able to get those clutch wins, to be able to be here, to be the champions. OverSoul looked phenomenal tonight. A lot of these players had their moments and they made sure that they executed on them.
Yeah, and I mean, we have to talk about some of these players, but first off, we're going to be trying to set up an interview. So while we get that set up, we're going to go to a short break, but don't go anywhere. There's still more content to come, so we'll be back soon.
because this season it's been pretty rocky, and it's a new team because I've played on a previous team for a couple of splits, and this is like a brand new team that I'm playing with Crash, and went really well. Just really happy.
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys played phenomenally well, and even during the regular season, you guys ended with that 4-1 record, had a really strong regular season, but coming into the playoffs, you guys weren't talked up as much as some of the other teams. So do you guys feel like you weren't given your kudos after the strong regular season you had coming into this, or were you guys kind of, you know, thriving off that like underdog style of mentality of not being talked as much as some of these other teams?
I think the underdog feeling helped a lot, like during the playoffs, especially as soon as we won a game 5 in our first series. I think that kind of just ramped us up to like win throughout the entire playoffs. And I think the doubt, or like I guess not as much recognition for being good, I think it's just because we're not really known among like the community in Aegis. So I think people just kind of dissed us because they didn't really know how good we were or weren't. So I think it was just safe to be, I guess, doubting than to actually see our full potential.
Now, after this series, after winning out this entire championship, I always ask every single team this. I know it's a bit of a weird question at the end of the season, but are you planning on sticking together as a squad? And if you are you planning on staying in the same league, or maybe even bump yourself up a tier?
Right now, we're kind of like figuring out our schedules. So far, we're gonna like take probably a couple weeks off and then talk about it and see where everyone's at, and if everyone can, I guess, come together and play another league and see where we take the team.
All right. Well, then just got one final question for you here. Now, are there any shout outs you'd like to give over to maybe your teammates, any of your supporters, and is there anything you'd like to say to the audience here?
I'd like to say shout out to my boys Crash and Silly Goofy, because I've been playing with them for a really long time now, and just being able to get this championship win after so many different splits of competing feels amazing. And also, I'd also like to say to people who are supporting Zed or Dorado, y'all can sit down now and keep your keyboards silent. Thank you.
I mean, what a wonderful way to end this. Well, thank you very much for coming for this interview, and congratulations again on your massive victory tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, now with that, I unfortunately have the privilege of closing out the Aegis Executioners League for the season. I've had an absolutely fantastic time this whole season. Shoutouts to Chong Selmo again, co-casting with me for the vast majority of the season. Shout out to DBZ Freak for covering the first couple weeks, Kryptonic on production, and Ice Fire Ride for filling in today. I mean, I had a huge blast. I mean, do you have any final things you'd like to say, Chong?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a blast casting here for my first season here in AEL. Had some great series. I mean, shout out to Ivar, always putting this league together, putting in all that work behind the scenes. Shout out to everybody else who helps him with that, whether you're down here with us in the Emerald Division or helping out all the way up to ACL. Everybody here does great work. It's been a great time. Big shout out from me personally to DBZ Freak for being my sub for a lot of times this season when I was either playing or had other priorities. Big shout out to him. Always love the work he does. Great co-caster, great person, man. So shout out DBZ Freak. Shout out everybody who works at Aegis. It was a great time getting to cast here.
It was an absolutely great time for all, but great times don't have to end, and you know why? Because of the giveaway. Zen Market. Zen Market is your one-stop solution for buying products directly from Japan. They'll help you buy items from over 10,000 shops in Japan, as well as place bids on auctions on your behalf. They'll even consolidate all your items safely into one box, and it can ship internationally. They provide excellent customer service in 19 languages, which is why Zen Market is trusted by over 2 million users worldwide. Check the panel below the stream or click the link in the chat to try them out now. If you sign up with promo code Aegis, you'll get 1,000 yen off your first international shipping fee. And in addition, check out the special viewer giveaway, typing !giveaway in the chat for your chance to win a Nintendo 64. Thank you to Zen Market for sponsoring this stream. Thank you all for watching this stream, and I hope you have an amazing off season.
Bro, just use Zen Market.